Okay, so in an effort to build variety and not just talk about gang stalking all the time and targeting or whatever, I started dating, which I don't even know, honestly. I'm pretty crazy to do that, because after all the stuff that I've gone through, you would think that I would be smart. I would have the emotional, mental wherewithal to say, hey, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do that. But at the end of the day, you know, with targeting and gang stalking and all that, the whole point of it is so, like, your life, essentially, people just, I don't want to say they try to stop your life. They try to end your life. That's the best way to I don't know how else to say it. Like, in all honesty, and it's with there's no touching involved. That's the one thing that I know about it. There's no touching involved. It's all like psychological warfare, and like people walking around you and saying little things and wearing little shirts with like logos on them that relate to your life. Don't ask me what the premise of this whole thing is. Don't ask me, because I'm not going to sit there and dissect it. I've tried to conceptualize this from a sociological research standpoint. It's like just trying to wear someone down psychologically to the point where, like, I don't know if where my clippy is. I don't have my clippy. I call clips clippies. I don't know. I'll just, whatever. So, and because I did my hair, and I'm like, what's the point? I'm like, because if I'm going to record myself, I want to look presentable. I don't want to look like a zombie. So, I didn't wash my face yet to take my makeup off. Which I'm proud of myself for putting on makeup in the first place, because 2 to 3 months ago, I did not want to get out of bed, and I was just like a bum, you know. I was in such pain all over my body. I did not want to do anything at all whatsoever. Everything felt hopeless. I was scared shitless. Everything I ate made me like almost faint. So I thought, you know, all this stuff was being put in my food and my water. And so I've come a really, really long way. And that just took a lot of tenacity. Not to say that things are going to suddenly just magically get better over time, but, you know, I'm hopeful. But people are evil. Like, I never realized how evil people can truly, like, humans are, like, not to say we're terrible, but there's a certain sect of individuals who are really horrible people, who don't give a rat's ass about you or what you're going through, and they will, you know, go to their grave thinking that you're the problem. And, you know, and that's another thing. I did a vlog recently about that people, like, when you start, about the boundaries, like when you start setting boundaries, even in dating and stuff, you're a lot less harder to control and manipulate, and you suddenly become the bitch, right? Because you start speaking up for yourself. Because literally my whole life I did not speak up for myself at all, because I didn't want to rock the boat. And so when I got mistreated, or like if I thought people were gossiping about me or talking about me, which I don't know why they would do anyways, unless they were like, she's too like virginal, because I was a virgin until like 32, and I did not talk about sex. I was never flirtatious at jobs. Like when I was a waitress, I was never forward with anyone. And now, because, you know, with the hacking, the stalking, all that BS, it's like people, I think, since they have access to me and my stuff and my content and like my phone and whatnot, I think people, whoever's doing it and surveillancing me, I feel like they think that they have an authority or an opinion over my life and are trying to steer me in a certain direction. I'm not going to get into that, because that's not what I'm going to talk about. I more so wanted to talk about dating and kind of chronicling my experience with that as someone who is being targeted. Now, I never wanted to fully identify myself as someone who's being targeted. Why? Because self-fulfilling prophecy. When you give credence to something, anything in life, you know, like the idea of if you focus on a certain car, you're going to see that car all the time in your, you know, present reality. And because your attention is affixed on this vehicle or something, and you're going to start to just notice it everywhere. That's just like standard. So it's kind of that same idea that like whatever, like I've said this before, where your attention goes, energy flows. So I know it's because a lot of targeting gang stalking is a mental game. Now the poisoning and stuff, like that is something I don't know how to fix at all. I've wondered, is it mafia? Is it like, I literally, is it the mob? I'm like, I don't know why I don't even know why any of that would be relevant to me, because I don't associate with any kind of, illicit, or underworld type of things like that. I know people have like surmised, oh, it's government, it's this and that, and blah, 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 blah. I honestly, I don't know anymore. I just look at it as people being mean, and I look at it like a test for my soul. I do think rumors are started, and rumors do get like evolve into something far worse, because the people who facilitate it and carry it out, I think they're so determined to see people not happy or live their life normally, because my life is not going to be like yours. If you're a regular everyday person, civilian person, I'm a civilian person too, but life is very different for me. And I want to reiterate that and really drill that home, because people, like, every single second of your life gets like, I don't say documented, but I think like observed, if that makes sense. I know this sounds very far out and very Twilight Zone-y, but that is literally what happens. From like, and I don't know how. I don't know if people put cameras in people's homes. I have seen that like on Airbnbs where they talk about that, but in Airbnb they're actually allowed to put cameras in common areas, like the foyer, or like even maybe a living room, but not a bedroom or a bathroom. That's unconstitutional and unlawful, because people can do digital, virtual, like sex trafficking and whatnot. Because you could be, you don't have to like be captured in a bus or like a van to be trafficked, by the way, just so people understand that. But despite all that, one of the things I told myself is, I was like, and I also wanted to mention this concept of like normalization or normalcy, right? Trying to evoke or elicit some semblance of normalcy in your life, right? Because you think to yourself, because when people bully you, what do they want you to do? They want you to fixate on the whole problem. Like me talking about it, that brings them joy, which is weird, right? I know that sounds weird. I don't know if that's sadism or masochism, but they enjoy when people talk about it. So it's like, God forbid you completely ignore it, but the thing is, they'll do something. Like if you're having several days where like everything's going the way that you hope that it would, and you're like, you're making steps forward to not be so hypervigilant or fearful or mistrusting of people, and you don't have to worry or like look over your shoulder and worry about someone following you in the grocery store, or like following you down the street, or like, because that's what they do. It's really strange. It's it is from a research perspective, it is so interesting, because the human mind, the people who participate in it, they must get some sort of stipend, or they get paid, right, to be part of it. So it's like, I don't know, it's so fascinating to me, because we as humans, we have to make the conscious effort to, like anything in life, we choose, like I can choose, like self-discipline. This is something, because of targeting, I have developed insomnia, and my sleep-wake cycle is all off. I've had idiopathic aches and pains all over my body. My food, like I mentioned before, I believe it is getting tampered with and messed with. I believe I'm being poisoned slowly. It's horrible. I know, it sounds horrible, and I pray every day. I'm like, I just pray over my food. I'm like, please God, wherever the fuck you are, excuse my language. I'm like, I can't see you, but I know you're there. I'm pretty sure there are angels that exist. I just need you more than ever now, because it makes me think of that song from Lady Antebellum. It's 1:15. Anyways, I'm not gonna get into that. But I do talk. I'm like, I will talk out loud, and I'll be like, God, I need you. these people are crazy. Like, I just want normalcy. I know that there's a purpose behind this, but man, I need you. Like, I get it, we have free will, but these people are really, like, exercising their free will, not in a good way. Like, they're hurting me, God, and I need you to keep me strong and healthy and to persevere and push forward, because I matter, you know, and I deserve to have normal food. You know, I sometimes wonder, I go, why are people doing this? Because I'm a good girl, I follow the rules. I know people can say, oh, this is karma because you probably did something in a past life, or you did something earlier. No, I'm clean. Like, I don't do drugs, I don't smoke. I did watch pornography. I call porn, like, maybe like what, 20, at age 20, 19, that was on, but it wasn't even like real porn. That was on HBO, the Cinemax thing. That was not even real porn. That was just like Cinemax. It wasn't real, you know, they covered themselves up, and that was the first encounter I ever had with that. And I don't feel ashamed to say that, because that's how I learned about intercourse, you know. Some people learn about it from their parents, from, you know, them having a discussion. I learned about it from friends and from watching that. Not Friends, the TV show, friends like ballet friends and, you know, dancer friends, whatever, school. And I'm not ashamed to say that. Like, it's part of life. It's a human biological, you know, physiological activity. We all do it. Birds do it, bees do it. What's the song? Birds do it, bees do it, even bees do it. Let's do it. Let's fall in love. No, that's not it. I think it's Ella Fitzgerald. Anyways, and I don't think that's karma. I mean, I will say that my body repelled some of the stuff that I did view and watch. Like, my body was literally shaking sometimes because I think I was so turned off by what I was witnessing. So, and I always told myself, how come I'm not getting karma for this? You know, like, or getting punished? Because I kind of did it behind my parents' back. I would turn off the Wi-Fi. I would go on, like, this website. I've mentioned it before in another video. If you haven't seen my videos, I do the NSFW series, Not Safe for Work series. And, yeah, and I talk about things that are kind of risque or provocative, but still kind of tasteful and classy. Just because I think it needs to be discussed. You know, I was raised Catholic, and all that stuff was kind of frowned down upon. And I was really afraid to embrace that side of me, because I thought I was being a sinner or sinful. And this is where religion, it's funny. It's like I have this back and forth, because I'm like, I am faithful. I do believe in God. I would say I can't say I'm a devout Christian, but I do have faith in, or more so spiritual, if anything. And when people try to get me to join their congregation and stuff, I thought about it recently, and I'm like, you know, there's some people, like, you can find a sense of community within a church, but at the same time, I kind of like, religious doctrine kind of, excuse my language, fucked up my view of relationship. Like, even like self-pleasure, homosexuality. I ended up going to an art school, and like, majority of the people there were identified as LGBTQ, and I didn't see them as deficient or defective in any way at all. Like, zero. Like, at all. They just liked someone of the same sex. Like, that's not a sin. And I mean, okay, I take in the Bible they say that's a sin, but I go, but they're good people. You know, in my mind, I was friends with some of the people that were, you know, guys that were dancers, people that were in my strand and my discipline of, you know, musical theater or whatever. And I go, but they're not bad people. Why would the Bible say that? Like, because they were saying man and woman, and I get that, but there's couples who are men who, you know, want to adopt a child, or they want to, you know, have their own child, you know, and I think people think that it's like a mental illness and all this stuff, and I'm like, but I don't think that's true. No one would ever, like, choose to be ridiculed, you know. I just don't see that. Anyways, but religion, it talked about like self-pleasure being a sin, homosexuality being a sin, premarital sex being a sin, and so many people engage in premarital sexual intercourse at like 15, 16, 17. And I was so dead set that I was like, I am I looked at everyone else as like below me. I was like, oh, I'm the good girl and I do the right thing because no, that's not the way it should, like, no. And no offense, I'm not downplay. I've had to really like hone in on my faith the past 6 years. Like, my faith has been strengthened. I was always close to, like, I believe God is like an energy force or source energy. I used to be very into the crystals and the woo-woo stuff, and now I just kind of I pray. I believe that there is something. There has to be something. I know I'm challenging people who are atheist and agnostic, but even agnosticism, like, I believe that there has to be something. You can consider angels extraterrestrials if you want. I mean, I don't know, you know? So I just feel, and I've just, the things that have happened in my life have been nothing short of a miracle. Like, I should not be standing right now. My brain should be shut off. I should be in a casket somewhere. I'm not kidding. I'm not joking. This targeting, gang stalking thing it should have taken my life, and it didn't. And I feel like I am being divinely blessed and protected by some other realm or angels, spirit guides, whatever. And if you don't believe in that stuff, I'm not going to push that on you, because everyone's journey is different. I don't do that. I'm not the type of people where, like, people are like, you need to come to Jesus. I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. I'm not going to knock on your door and be like, do you want to talk about Jesus? Like, Jesus was a dude. He walked around and he talked about treating people fairly, you know? And it's like, literally, and I know people say, and it's funny because I have a Christian playlist. I have, one of my favorite playlists is a Christian playlist, and there's gospel songs on there. I have Brandon Lake. I have Matt, I don't know if it's Matt Mahar. I have some of my favorite songs. There's like Graves into Gardens. I love that song. Switchfoot is in there because I didn't know that they were a Christian band. Who else is in there? I have Ben Rector in there. There's a song by Thomas Rhett with Brandon. Like, I listen to a bunch of different things, but I will say though that, like, sometimes religion, I'm like, I have this not love-hate thing with it, but it's just I do believe in Christ. I do believe that he, not say he was a prophet, but like, people say, I think in Judaism, that not the son of God, but the prophet, but then in Christianity we believe the son of God, or Catholicism. I think if religion provides you with a sense of solidarity and community, that's a good thing, right? But when it comes to dating, from a psychological standpoint, biologically speaking, I was stunted because I felt like I was going to do a disservice to God. Like, I thought I was going to be shunned, go to hell. I thought I was like a horrible person because I didn't want to think about sex or procreation, and it's a normal thing. How do people make babies? You see people all the time on Instagram, oh, I'm pregnant, and I, whatever, and we all do it. How we do it is different, right? Some people, literally believe that, I don't know which religious sect that is, but they just believe that the woman's body is, like, women are supposed to be mothers, and they're only supposed to fornicate or engage in coitus if it's for the sake of procreation. I'm not for that. And I think, and this is why, we were made to, if sex was not pleasurable, we wouldn't want to do it, right? Now, the way in which you go about that, I've said this before in my other videos, if you haven't, I'll just reiterate, it's an intention. Just like drinking, smoking is bad for you, but like gambling, right? I've been to Vegas before, and when I've been to Vegas, we went as a family for my grandmother's 90th birthday and other family members' birthdays, and I was like 14, and you can't go, there's like a line of demarcation, you can't cross that line, in the casino, because then the security guards will come. But like, I remember when I became of age, when I was 21, I played the little penny machines. I didn't go crazy and I was like, I'm gonna go to the craps thing and I'm gonna do the poker and I'm gonna do the slot machines and just rack up all. No. I think everything in moderation. That's the key is intention. What is your intention? And do you have the self-discipline to be able to say, hey, this is enough for me? And the manner in which the context, that's what it was the intention and the context in which you carry out certain things. So if you're going to go gambling, someone who has self-discipline will go and gamble and they'll say, you know what, I have $50, I'll start off with this. And if you're someone who likes the poker or the craps table, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In my opinion, I don't think there's anything. There's a lot of excitement and the statistics behind it and the probability and the chances, oh, I'm going to win this amount of money. And that's no issue to me. But if there's someone who's addicted, because once someone has that lucky streak and then they start to go and they start putting down more money, I think there's like high rollers and there's big money involved in those things. And like the blackjack tables, the craps tables, the roulette. I can't speak to that well because I have never done any of those things. I just did the little penny machines where you press the button and it's like, and they put the little pictures and stuff. So, I don't know. For me, that's kind of how I see it. And what's another good example? Shopping. Shopping is a good example, I think, because I'm very big on like bargain shopping and like coupons. Like I would rather shop at like Marshalls. Marshalls is like one of my favorite stores. I find besides Stitch Fix and Marshalls are the only places I can find clothes that fit me. Macy's, too many things. JCPenney, sort of. Kohl's, not really. Nordstrom is just super expensive. I used to go to Nordstrom Rack in Miami. That was a favorite store of mine. But my point in saying that is like someone who can't who loves to go shopping, right? You go wants and needs. Do I need that item? What do I need? Okay, I need a hair clip. Okay, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna buy a hair clip. But I know for me, like I know if I see a bunch of stuff, and that's why that's why consumerism is the way it is, and people put displays because it'll be appealing and attractive to the buyer. So the hope and the intent is like, that's why when you go in those aisles in TJ Maxx and they have like the checkout line, and they're like, but you think you're done shopping, but no, we have a whole aisle of other things we need to tempt you with before you go to the cashier register. That's like my favorite part is the little, like in Target store where they have the dollar section, and then also like when you're checking out stuff, like that's my favorite part, because you'll see all these cute knickknacks and like candles and soaps and mugs and kitchen utensils and all this shit that you probably don't need, but you're like, but it's so cute and you want it anyways. But then I tell myself, I'm like, no, you don't need it. So if you're like me, just be mindful of that. And I'm getting to my point about dating in a second, but I wanted to bring up the point about context and intention, because I do think that I wish I can go back in time and I would have handled things differently. I wouldn't have been so, but everything happens for a reason, right? Like life goes the way that it's supposed to go. So I can't be like, oh, I wish I can go back in time and change things, but no, that's the way that it's supposed to go. Which pause for 2 seconds because I need to check on, and I'm going to turn my air thingy here. Hold on. Hopefully oh, is it done? I think it's done. Yes. It's in there. Super hot. I am in my pajamas, but it's like 2:41 a.m. So I figured if when I can't go to sleep, I just, I'll do a video and whatnot. I am a night owl. I know that needs to change, but I'm alive, and that's what matters. So, what was I saying? Oh, these are hot. Oh my God. Yes, I am eating food. Whether it has anything in it, I don't know, but if I croak, then we know that there's something. I shouldn't say that, but anyhow, so context and intention. And I will say that, there's moments where I do feel like a modest little lady, where I don't feel like, I fit in with the crowd because I don't really, it's interesting because I'm the kind of person, I don't mind disclosing this and sharing this. I know this is maybe TMI, and if you're a future employer, please don't judge me based off of, I don't know, I don't have my name associated with this, but please don't judge me based off of a YouTube. Like, I'm a lot more dynamic and multifaceted than my opinions and my belief system, but these are just my experiences, and I'm doing this to help other people who are also going through the same experience, especially females. It's very hard, but targeting also happens to males too. It's not just solely or exclusively happening to the female gender. But there was something I was going to say, and it was very important. Now the thought escaped me, but it was probably something more salacious and along the lines of sex. I don't know if I could say that word on YouTube. I think I could say intercourse. If it's in like a informative scientific nature, I think I can say it. Oh, yes, I remember what I was saying. Yes. So the expression, lady in the streets but freak in the sheets. What I do in private with people, because here's the thing with targeting and hacking. People get a glimpse into my private life, which is illegal, by the way. Surveillancing someone's private life is illegal unless you have a search warrant, which I'm pretty sure I've never committed a crime or anything like that. So unless someone started a rumor and someone said, oh, we need to keep tabs on so-and-so person. But I think it's more criminals than like people, in government and whatever. That's just my assertion. I don't know, or assumption. Anyhow. But because of that, if people I don't consider myself super vanilla when it comes to that stuff. Not to say that I think sexuality exists on a spectrum, and I did a video on this before, and I think some people are super, super open to trying. I'm talking there's the people who are very conservative and they will only fornicate or engage in sexual intercourse when they're trying to procreate, or a woman is fertile and they're trying to have a baby. And then there's you go a little bit more down the way, and then there's people who are more sex positive, and they're more apt to be a little bit more comfortable with this idea of whether it's casual exchange between two people. I will say that for me, after having kind of done that, because I had my almost spring awakening. If you don't know that musical, it's a Broadway musical, but I kind of had that happen to me a year and a half ago, because I literally thought I was going to die. So I said, I don't want to die without knowing what it's like to, and after you do it, you're like, this is what it is. I'm like, and it's so funny because as a woman, there's so much more. It's crazy because intimacy, I'll be turned on more so if a man holds me or embraces me a certain way. I'll shudder, I was going to say something really not derogatory, but all things will happen. Parts of my body will be aroused, I guess you can say. Not even by actual intercourse, but more so the way in which a man interacts with me. And it really, and if you're a man watching this, and if you're in a relationship or you have someone in your life, know that, like, unless you already know that person and you're married to them, whatever, and you know what their likes and what turns on, if you're just meeting someone and you don't know what they're all about, I encourage you to just try on the idea that seduction doesn't just start, it's not a bedroom thing. Seduction starts with the mental connection. Oh, this one wants to. She, you know, there's little, I have barbecue sauce. There's a little cheese ball thingies that I'm eating from Trader Joe's. I don't know if I should say that. But when you give away, like, they say in game stalking, you want to be unpredictable. So the more you tell the people that are your enemies, quote unquote, what you're doing, the more they have, like, ammunition to be able to, you know, fuck with you. Oh, it's hot. So, anyhow, as I was saying, what was I saying? I was saying something and I forgot what I was saying. No! What was I saying, baby? She don't remember. Right? You don't remember. I was saying something about, it was context, intention, lady in the street, freaking the sheets thing. It'll come to me eventually. I'm going to talk about gang stalking. Oh, yes. I remember. So, and I'll say this, some of the better experiences I've had with intimacy have not even been with, like, it wasn't even, like, with, whatchamacallit, like, the actual act of, like, penetration. Oh my god, I'm so shy. It wasn't even with that. It was like, it was from, like, the people who made an effort to A, like, legitimately get to know me, and then B, to go out of their way to show that they were, like, that they cared or that they were thinking about me. Things like that were so freaking attractive. I don't want to say panties drop, that didn't happen. But my point is that intimacy building starts, especially for women. If you're a man listening to this, please listen up. It's not that for men, I get it. You guys are different. You guys, like, have a thing hanging off of your body that literally like, that's like a second brain for you people. I get it. Like, for women, we don't have external genitalia, men do. So they're constantly having to think about that, right? That's the way God, or evolution, or whatever, right? So, I don't fault men at all for, like, being horn dogs or whatever. Hi, Kanye. This is super hot. Oh no. I'm very. So I try to be mindful of that and give some men some leeway, but there's also self-restraint and self-discipline. I know there's called, like, No Fap November. You know, and that's another thing. Oh, self-pleasure. If you do that in excess, something, by the way, BTW, something becomes an addiction when it affects your, what they call in occupational therapy, activities of daily living, ADLs. So if you have a prior commitment or an appointment and you're sitting there engaging in self-pleasure, or, like, you need it to survive, that's an addiction. If it hinders or impairs any activities of daily living, or if that takes precedence over your responsibilities and priorities in your life, that's an addiction. So you'd be mindful of that. But if you are living your life and you like engage in that maybe like say once or twice or 3 times a week, I don't think that, like every day, I mean, I will say that there's some people, like there was a period of time that I was going through a few months ago where I was afraid to get medicine at like over the counter OTC at like CVS because I had a really weird experience buying vitamins at a Kroger a few months ago. It was vitamins that I'd never bought before, and I was compelled to buy these things, and I had the worst reaction you could ever imagine. I thought I was dying. It was horrible. I thought that they were laced with something. I'm not going to get into it, but I just had a really bad reaction, and that scarred me and traumatized me, amongst also I had food delivered to me that I think the drink was spiked. Now, why people do this, I don't know, but here you go, baby. I believe that's what happened. And I'm going for a little bite of this, and you get the rest of it. Hopefully I don't die now after eating that, but, you know, at least I had a good little meal. I don't know anymore. So for people that are like, oh, you're not eating food, I'm like, no, I do eat food. I should probably drink my water. I drink water that's like filtered. And yeah, I put like a supplement in it so it like neutralizes it, which I may have to do now. But then my water also I feel like is tainted, so it's like it's a double-edged sword. Anyways, as I was saying, context, intention, when addiction, things like that. I did, you know, there's a period like 3 months ago where I was in such pain and I was afraid to get like, you know, painkillers. You know, at the CVS or drugstore, Walgreens, because I was scared that it could be laced with something. So I was like, well, sexy time, because that's what I call it. I call it sexy time. Solo sexy time or sexy time. I know it sounds silly, but that's what I call it. And I was like, sexy time, that is very, there are a lot of benefits of sexy time that people don't realize. It helps your immune system. It helps dopamine in your brain. That's why people get addicted to that stuff, because it literally, not to say it feeds your ego, but it relaxes your body. It's almost like the same like thing with people smoke weed, right? At the end of the night, or they do an edible or do whatever. It calms their nervous system, or it relaxes them, and they kind of just, I guess I don't know, things feel more mellow or easier. I don't smoke weed, so I don't know. This is from what I've heard from friends and stuff that do it. What was I saying? So it's the same thing. You know, I didn't smoke weed. I was engaging in what you say self-pleasure for me, just because I'm not going to get too much into it because that's very personal. And I think I did a video about this, but it alleviates the pain, especially when you have cramps as a woman. If you have menstrual cramps, men, it's hard to understand this, but it's menstrual cramps hurt so much. They hurt so much because the egg literally is, you know, goes through the fallopian tubes, and it goes, and then you're shedding the lining of your uterus, right? So, and you're usually also, when you're ovulating, you get really horny and aroused or whatever. So, typically, I mean, that's how it's supposed to work. There's like the luteal phase, the follicular phase, and whatnot. So, I try to be mindful. I always know, like, if I'm extra like horny, that I know I'm ovulating. Yesterday actually, I had really bad cramps, and I looked at my calendar. I'm like, oh, I was like, it's that time. So I'm like, thank my fertile window. I'm like, thank God. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. I was like, thank you, because I thought I lost my period for a second, because there was literally I bled on this team. I had really bad, horrible cramps, and it was for like 2 weeks straight that and I thought, oh God, is this cervical cancer? Is it ovarian cancer? Is it PCOS? Is it endometriosis? I thought, is it heavy metals? I did do a heavy metals test, and it said that I had a superfluous amount of aluminum in my body, whereas another one said that I didn't have anything, so I was very confused. Because heavy metals are like endocrine disruptors, and your endocrine system, which is there's your thalamus, and then there's your pituitary gland, and your hypothalamus. The pituitary gland looks like a little thingy. It's like tiny in your brain. Some people get cancer there, which is really scary because it's like deep in the recesses of like your hind brain. There's your forebrain, your hind brain, midbrain. Actually, sorry, it might be in your midbrain, because you have the corpus callosum, and it's like in there. It's like this little thingy, and it governs your hormones. Is it ACT? What is it? Adenotropic. ACT, adrenocorticotropic hormone. It's been so long since I took biology. But there's luteinizing hormone, LH, follicular stimulating hormone, FSH, and another one. Oh, thyroid, TSH. All of that is hormones, and heavy metals disrupt that. So when I found out, I was like, thank you, Jesus. I was like, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. Miracle after miracle. But anyways, I digress. Going back to what I was saying. So let's go back to the very beginning, like in Sound of Music. If you don't know Sound of Music, she goes, let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. And so, anyways. And it's funny because I actually was very nun-like, or very sisterly years ago growing up, and I kind of I shifted gears and I started to go, you know what, I'm going to not feel ashamed to be myself and explore that part of me, because why not? And I never thought I would be sharing my experiences in public with everybody on the internet, but you know, here we are. I have nothing to lose at the end of the day, you know. I've lost everything because of gang stalking and targeting, so really it's like tabula rasa, starting from scratch. So as I was saying, I was very modest growing up, and then now that's kind of changed and shifted. Now add in the variable of the stupid bullshit, cyberbullying, provocation, whatever, behavioral modification, whatever you want to call it, that which is gang stalking, which you would only understand if you've been through it. If you haven't been through it, it's going to be really hard to explain. But I told myself, I said, you know what, I want to explore this, and I want to chronicle this, because I think I could help people through my experiences. And my life isn't by no means perfect. I am not a perfect person. In the words of Hoobastank, if you haven't heard the song called The Reason, I am not a perfect person at all. I don't claim to know all the answers. I will say that I do try my hardest to do the right thing. And I do have a strong moral code that I abide by. Some people have, you know, there's the eightfold yogic path. If you're a yoga practitioner, you don't have to do the physical practice of yoga. You can do the intellectual practice, which is called, oh my God, Raja Yoga. I was going back 2016. What are the different branches of yoga? There's Jainism, there's Karma Yoga, Hatha Yoga, obviously Vinyasa Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, is it Kriya Yoga? There's a bunch of different types. There's Yoga Nidra, but one of them, the branch or sect of yoga that deals with intellectualism is, I just said it, Raja Yoga, I think. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure that's what, like Raja in terms of Aladdin, you know, like the tiger, that was with Jasmine. So yeah, there's the Eightfold Path, or the Yogic Path. There's the Ten Commandments. There's the Torah. That if you have the Quran in Muslim, and obviously the Bible in Christianity. And these are the things that kind of are like guiding principles that govern or help guide people's behaviors, right, in their actions. So I can't really say I abided by the Bible, but I can say that in Catholic school, it was very much drilled into us that, and mind you, it's so funny because in Catholic school, everyone's horny as AF. Like, everyone is, you know, you go to the little dance parties at, like, I remember 8th grade, 7th grade, they were, one of my best friends, she had her, like, 13th or 14th birthday. I'll never forget it. She had this, like, pool house, and her mom or her dad, like, the chaperones would find the kids in the pool house, like, hooking, not hooking up, and actually, like, hooking up, like, they were doing over the pants dance, you know, other handsy, you know, things. And these were Catholic school kids. And that's okay to be curious because that's developmentally appropriate for that age, right? Psychosocial stage, don't quote me on it. School age is industry versus inferiority. Identity versus role confusion. So teens, adolescents trying to figure out where they fit into society. You know, sexual maturation, right? Psychosexual stages for Freud, right? I'm trying to remember. There's like the oral stage, I'm sure it's probably the phallic stage. It has to be the phallic stage. Don't quote me on it, but anyways, I was very, 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 very astute and very adamant about not deviating from that path. And it really, I will say, it is a kind of a shame that, like, because of this whole thing, I kind of expedited. I was on the path to basically waiting till marriage. And I know there's a more conservative kind of approach to things. That's just the way life turned out. I didn't meet any guys that I was like, you know what? They seem fuckable, you know. I know that's a term. People say effable. I just didn't have any feelings like that yet. And then later on, I kind of blossomed more so, you know. So that's just my journey, if you guys didn't know that. Now you do. The more you know. And I don't mind sharing that because it's part of my life. And, you know, everyone develops at their own rate. If you didn't know that, but human psychology or child development or adult development, we all actually, there's like ages and stages. And there's pretty fluid in the way that it happens. It's very quantitative versus qualitative. In the terms of the linear progression that development occurs into. So, but for me, because of the religion stuff, I was very much taken aback, you know, and I don't shun that. Like, I do consider myself, I can't say I'm a full-fledged practicing Catholic, but I do love churches. I think churches are so sacred. I remember when we went to Rome as a family, or Italy specifically, I loved going into churches. Even when I was in Philadelphia, I lit candles, you know. I will always love churches, and the sculptures, you know, of Mary and Joseph and, you know, Christ as a baby, and, you know, kneeling in a pew. And I'm not ever gonna shun or discredit any religion, especially if you pay homage in that you pay your respect and reverence, you know, in mass and stuff like that. So I will never ever speak poorly about that. I would just say that you have to be careful, because religious doctrine would dictate that, you know, if you take it too seriously, scientifically, like, you're supposed to develop a certain way, and that got stunted for me because I did not I didn't want to go to hell. I just wanted to be a good girl. I wanted to be a good human. I wanted to do the right thing. And now, you know, and on the opposite end of the spectrum, people who, like, you know, I was saying sexuality exists on a spectrum. You know how there's, like, the really super conservative people who are like, no, we sleep with each other. And if let me make this very clear. If you are in a committed relationship and you have a spouse and you're monogamous, not polyamorous, please do yourself, don't treat sexual activity as a chore, because I think a lot of people, after being someone who traversed the world of that, not couples, but like, how do I say, like, there was a period of time, like last year, where I was, exploring. I didn't really, I don't want to get into, because I don't want to taint my ability, because with jobs and stuff, it's not really, it's something that's frowned down upon, stuff like OnlyFans and loyal fans and all this stuff like that. People don't, they look at they don't see you, they don't see Ashley, they look at they hear the term and they automatically put me in and associate me with being this like floozy puta prostitute, and that's not at all what I am at all. I would never solicit any sort of sexual activity for compensation, like in person. When people do that kind of stuff virtually, it is legal, by the way. It is legal. If you don't know about the world of camming and video, like that's a whole another thing. And I had no clue that this was a thing until like last year. Because there's a lot of stuff that I'm in the dark about. And I'm like, I don't think I'm too timid. I don't think I'm too shy. So, anyways, trying to think what I was going to say. There was a flow and a progression I was trying to get into. So, yeah, I just think religious doctrine some people will say, there's some people on earth, where like, no matter what, like and that's the thing about development, is that we all develop at a different rate, right? That's the point that I want to drive home, is that like your libido might be different from mine, and that's okay. And some people are very demonstrative and out there about their sexuality. There's women who, like, you will never catch me dead, like, with showing cleavage out in public, ever. I just won't ever do it, like, ever. I don't know why. I don't, there's women who are more heavy set and they love showing off their body in that way. I just don't do it. I don't like showing off my assets like that. I'm very modest. Like, if you meet me out in public, I will be very polite. I will be very astute, very tactful. But when it comes to my personal life, it's kind of a whole different ball game, because that's personal and that's my life. And I don't think that speaks to me being some floozy, if you're interested, because that's the human body, right? And there's a certain way I think we should be respecting each other when it comes to that stuff, and now I'm kind of going into the dating aspects of it, because I did put my dating adventures as a targeted individual. And you say to yourself, well, why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself out there if you know that you can put yourself in harm's way? I have discernment. Life is literally a succession of lessons that have to be lived in order to be understood. Like, you have to go through the experience. Anybody could pass away at any moment. Like, hopefully I don't get sick from the food that I just ate, but if I do, then whatever. I will figure it out. I hope I don't. Knock on wood. Please, God, protect me wherever you are. And angels and all that stuff. But with gang stalking targeting, people want to make you feel small. People want to isolate you. They want to make you feel inferior. Your whole life changes. You get bullied, you get cyberbullied, you get cyberstalked, you get illegally surveillanced. People try to pin crimes on you and start rumors and gossip about you that's not true. And it's really sad. And they try to insinuate that, you'll die soon, and that, or you'll get deported, or like some really bad shit's gonna happen. I mean, and they do this all like either through like hacking and stuff, or they'll use people around you to try to evoke that fear-based thinking, and then they'll play off of that. And I fell victim to that many, many times. And I still do sometimes. Like, I call my dad up the other day and I go, Dad, am I going to die? like, when is this going to stop? They said this, and like, I came across this in this song and it made me think of this, and this. And he's like, that's a trigger. And that's the thing too, like, people get coached on your triggers. Now, when it comes to dating and you go, well, how are you going to do that? Because don't they have honeypots? Don't they have honey traps? Yeah, but I consider that a honeypot to me is a jerk, and without targeting. If you think about it, right? A jerk offers you honey, something sweet. The bees go to that, right? They'd get the nectar from the flower. And bees, that would happen to anybody, you know, a bad experience with a guy. So really, at the end of the day, it's the same thing. So I want to challenge people that are like, oh, but the honeypots and the handlers, bitch, like, it's the same thing. Just don't look at them as that. Look at them as people. Like, if you're a guy and you come across this, whether you're straight, gay, whatever, like, don't look at it like honeypots. That's the term, that's the blanket term that they use, is honeypots, honey traps, honey badger, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That's the term that they use. But challenge that. Just say they're jerks. A jerk is a jerk is a jerk. If someone takes a bribe to try to date you and try to, like, throw you off your path and cause you turmoil, just deal with it like a regular person would. Don't be like, they're a honeypot. Who cares? Who gives a shit? A jerk is a jerk is a jerk. A jerk is, it's the same thing. It's the same thing if you weren't targeted or if you weren't gang stalked. It's the same exact thing. I don't look at a guy and I'm like, oh, he's gonna, yeah, he might be super good looking. He might be with the abs and the thing. He might, yeah, probably. It probably is a honeypot. But here's the thing, folks. We all, and I learned this from yoga, we are all responsible for our karma. You have good karma and you have bad karma. Karma is action, and that's governed and dictated by your behaviors and the choices you make. So good karma is like a karmic piggy bank. So right, you do good deeds, you do good actions, you get good karma back. You do bad deeds, bad whatever, you get that whatever karma back. There's an equal and opposite reaction to every action, right? I remember I learned in, I think it was behavioral analysis, like years ago, from a mentor. She said ABC: antecedent, behavior, consequence. Antecedent, the thing that precedes a certain behavior, consequence, the reaction or result that, or the byproduct that culminates or is brought about because of a certain behavior. But there's always a certain thing that precedes, the antecedent that precedes the behavior. So if you're like, oh, that was a honeypot, who gives a shit? They're just a person. This whole gang stalking phenomenon has created its own world. Literally, it's created its own world. It's morphed into this insurmountable, monumental, global phenomenon. And we've given these terms like target. There's no gang. There's no gang per se. Now, who's facilitating, who's running it, that's up for debate. But they're just people. They're misguided people. They're immature people. Mature people don't go doing this shit. You know what I mean? Mature people are out working on themselves. They're working on bettering their character. They're working on self-development, self-discovery, growth, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, IQ, everything, ambitions, goals. That's their focus. So if you ever come across now I will say, be mindful, because sometimes though the game that they play can be very detrimental. Like for women, you have to be very mindful that, some men, because I will say it is different kind of from regular jerk people, because jerk guys can be like the finance bro who went to college and was like super preppy and he was in the fraternity and he's just a dick and has nothing to do with targeting. Or the same thing could be said for the girls. Like if you're a guy and you're being targeted or whatever, you can come across a woman who comes into your life and is like everything that you've ever wanted, and then she plays you like a fiddle, and bamboozles you and tries to trap you with like a pregnancy or something, because that's what they do too. Or try to give you an STD or HIV. I mean, it can be pretty bad. Like people they will, people will try. So there is that element of like risk and danger, and you have to proceed with caution. So it isn't there, because there is that malicious intent behind it, right? There is that like, okay, we're going to get Ashley and we're going to trick her so good and we're going to get her pregnant, and then she's going to be a single mom, and then she's going to be in poverty and broke, and now she has to deal with like, being a single mom. Or we're going to try to get her sick and use a guy to plant a virus. I don't know, something really outrageous, or maybe not so outrageous, but something that could really be a burden, in my life. Because that's what they'll do. And the same thing if you're a man, they'll do that too. So just be mindful of that. So it is a little bit different than your average like dating experience, like where you meet a jerk and it's like, oh, that guy's just a dick. No, this is like people will intentionally try to put blocks in your life, or also to put you in this karmic cycle of trauma and drama, like a trauma bond. That's very, very prevalent and common with the gang stalking. But I'm going about it that way because, to me, every person that gets bullied or targeted, everyone deserves to have a normal life. Why should I adjust my life and literally dismiss or disregard things that bring me joy? Like going to a yoga class, going to a dance class, making new friends, getting a job as a server. And these are all things that I've had to put on the back burner. Like when I first started getting targeted and gang stalked, I never thought about dating at all. In fact, I said, I can never date again. I can never get married. I can't have kids because they're going to target my child. And I don't want to do that to a kid. I don't want to bring a child into this world because of that. And I also don't want a partner, a boyfriend, or a spouse to get targeted. I don't want his family to get targeted. So I literally was like, I'm not going to date anybody. I told myself, I was like, I'm not going to date anybody. And then, I don't know, something clicked within me, and I was like, I moved to a new city when I was in Philadelphia, and I go, you know what? I deserve to be able to feel like a woman and do normal stuff. Because the people who do this whole bullshit thing want you to feel the opposite of that. They want you to feel like, they want you to feel ensnared and entrapped where you can't progress or move forward. They want to put roadblocks or stifle your life. That's from what I've gathered, from this whole thing. And then so I kind of thought about it, and I was like, but why should I adjust my life? I'm an innocent person. I did nothing wrong, so I have to adjust my life. Like, there was weird stuff happening indoors at places, like with weird gases and stuff that made me think of trafficking, because I couldn't breathe. I felt dizzy, and I thought I was going to faint, and I tried to bring myself back to life, by using hand sanitizer or something, or eating a snack or whatever. And, we're speaking now, I'm getting pretty sleepy, but I'm going to try to wrap this up. Well, let's see what happens. But yeah, I told myself I should be able to have a normal life. Why should I adjust my life? Why should I stop doing the things that I love, or being like a normal woman and going out on a date and meeting a guy, whether it's through a dating app or through a friend of a friend or through a job or, a hobby or whatever, or the grocery store, whatever. Like, why? I haven't met anyone in a grocery store, but like, I don't know, maybe people do that, or a coffee shop, I don't know. And if people ever, like, with the honeypot thing, if people ever do anything to like mistreat me, guess what? They're the ones missing out. I'll never forget, I mentioned this before, I had a coworker, and he was very, very like adamant about me being proactive in like flirting with people that I waited on, because I was very shy as a waitress. Like, I was so shy. I would just do my job, and I smiled. I was very polite. I tried to be a really good server, I try to make it personable and friendly, but whenever there was like a handsome guy, oh my god, I couldn't, I could not, like, my flirting skills were so bad. So like, I don't know, I would just like I don't know, I couldn't do it. So like, he was very like keen on like me, like I remember once he tried to like, I think I forgot what he did. If he like, he said, "Oh, here's a cheesecake" or something. He tried to get like a complimentary cheesecake for a table, and this guy was really cute. Like, he was very handsome. He had like black gelled back hair, very like, you could tell that they had wealth. They came from wealth. This is when I worked at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse back in Miami. And I'll never forget, he like ordered a cheesecake and he's like, "Oh, go deliver it to him." And I'm like, "No, I can't do this." And so long story short, the guy, I don't know what I told him. I was just like, I think I was like, "Oh, I just think you're very attractive." And the server told me, I think I told him, I was like, the server told me to like, my friend, who's my friend, he said for me to like talk to you. And like, I just couldn't do it. And I get so shy and whatever. So then he, what did he do? I forgot what he did. He gave me his, I still have his business cards to this day. I've never like, I don't know if I reached out to him. I can't remember if I reached out to him. I don't know if I gave him my number. He gave me his business card, and I thought that was a little weird. He's like, "Oh, maybe we can set up lunch or something." And I was like, he's like, "Or you can reach out to me." And I was like, and I never did. No, I don't know what happened. Did he come back? I can't remember. Like, I think I told him when I worked or something, and I was like, "Oh," and then he never came back. Oh, I think I messaged him. Did I don't know what I did. Because I thought it was awkward. He gave me his, like, he didn't give me his personal thing. He gave me his business card because he was a broker for transportation, like freight transportation, like big carrier boats for freight boats or whatever for storage. I don't know. Anyways, and like long distance, like trucking, whatever. But they had, I'm not going to say his name for the sake of anonymity. I'm not going to do that. But my point is that I was very bad at like flirt, and I just didn't want to do it. I didn't do the Tinders, I didn't do the Bumbles, I didn't do any of that stuff. And I'm sure now if I told the people that like I knew from like years ago that all the stuff that I've done, they would be like, "There's no way in hell Ashley last name did any of that." And I did. And to me, I deserve a round of applause because I was painstakingly shy. So like, it's a big deal for me. I've grown leaps and bounds. That's one thing I will say because of gang stalking. If I had not been pushed to the brink and the breaking point of all this stuff, like literally like faced my own mortality, I never would have done half the stuff that I did. So it almost kind of forced me to, you know, and that's another thing too. You should never have to be faced like with a life or death situation or something really dire or critical to start living your life. Like, go do the things that scare you. And I have it on the wall there where I put "do it scared" or "face your fears" or something like that, because at the end of the day, you really, really should face your fears and do all that, because life is really short and you don't know, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. Like, I can croak in the next hour, which, knock on wood, I really hope, please don't do that, God. I really don't want to croak. I would like to, I literally talked to this guy. I'm like, "Can we make a deal, God? Can I live till like 85 or 90? I don't know if God's there. I'm sure something is there, but I asked that. I'm like, "Please, universe, please conspire for me and not against me, because people are crazy." Anyways, backtrack. So one of my the coworker, he told me something really significant, and it stuck with me because my self-esteem was really low at the time, and I didn't, not that I didn't feel worthy, I was just scared of not being liked in the way, like I was scared of not being someone's cup of tea. I was scared of, I guess, rejection. I guess I was scared of rejection. I think we all are, right? We're scared that someone would dismiss us, and it sucks. It sucks. Like, I'm dealing with that right now. Like, I'm dealing with people who, you know, in the dating thing, which I'll get to in a second, talking about my current situation of, I'm not going to give names and stuff, but just to chronicle what it's like to be targeted or whatever, and date and try to date with some semblance of normalcy, because it's not normal. Like, I do share about my experience with some of the guys that I've spoken to, and some of them are empathetic. Some of them kind of gaslight, and they're like, "That didn't happen," or like, "Are you sure?" And I'm just like, bro, excuse my putting the middle finger, but I'm like, I'm not gonna deal with that. Because when you're dating with the intention to marry, you want a spouse or a partner or a boyfriend or a love, whatever you want, someone who's going to completely 100% champion you and support you. So if you say, hey, that guy's bothering me, or I have a boss that's giving me a really hard time, how do we figure this out? When you're a team, right? When you're a little team with your person, they're not going to gaslight you. They're not going to be like, you know, oh, that didn't happen. Are you sure that happened? Like, that's not the response a supportive, loving, caring, nurturing teammate, soulmate would do. The response would be, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm here for you. What can I do, or what can we do to work this together to figure it out, right? That's what a teammate, a soulmate, cohesive partnership, you know, that's what I imagine it to be like. Because that's what I would do. I would offer that comfort to somebody and that reassurance. I would say, I don't know how, you know, I can't speak to exactly what you're going, but I will be here for you. You know, we will figure this out together. That's kind of the way that I would imagine it to play out. I haven't really met anybody romantically. Even like, there's a few people platonically, but romantically, I haven't really met anyone that has fully embraced and said, oh wow, like that's really, because the thing is, I think if they do that, they'll get like targeted too, and it's so shitty. Like, I can't explain to you like how shitty it is. It's so shitty, and scary. I mean, I'm surprised I'm still here. Like, if I'm being dead ass honest, I'm surprised I'm still alive. Because the things that I'll be sleeping and I'm like, I get sprayed like weird gases and shit on me. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm not joking. And I'm not a chemist. I'm not a scientist. It's very weird. So I sometimes just leave the windows open, or, you know, because I'm very sensitive to chemicals and stuff and smells and fragrances and, you know, anything, powders, whatever, you know, like I'm just very sensitive. Anyways, going back to what I was saying, I do the dating thing because that's part of life. Anyone that's a TI, by the way, I'm just going to tell you, don't stop living your life. Yes, take the necessary precautions. I'm not saying wear PPE and wear a mask everywhere you go, or wear gloves. Like, there was a point where I'm not kidding, like, I won't touch door handles sometimes because I've touched door handles and I felt really strange, or I've touched mail and I felt like I was going to faint, or I almost did faint, or I started to felt like I was coughing. Even when I was like sniffing candles at it was like Home Goods or TJ Maxx recently, one of the candles, I swear to God, it's like they knew that I was going to go there, whoever the people are, and they rigged one of the candles with like something that nearly almost like knocked the breath out of me. It was in a black container, and I sniffed it and I was like and I couldn't breathe, and it took me a few seconds to like regain my composure. So it was very scary. And someone would only know that by hacking. There was a police officer that did tell me once years ago, he says, usually when people put spyware on your phone and stuff, it's usually because they want to track you for possible trafficking. And I'm like, ha 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 ha. I'm like, that is not what is going on, sir. But he didn't say he was a police officer. He was like a driver he said he has his own security company. And he drove my friend and I to New York from a small town in Pennsylvania. I stayed with her family for like a week and a half. And then we went to New York City just to see a show. And he was our driver. So he was really nice too. But I tell myself, I deserve companionship. And I have to trust in God, in myself. I am such a and this is where my faith comes in. I'm kind of like the millennial Christian. I'm not the super devout, like super conservative, like, you know, like in church. I'm very like, I have my little thing, my little trinket thing. I pray to God. You know, I try to do good deeds. I don't think people should be sitting there asking for a bunch of things from the universe and not like putting in the effort to like help people, give to charity, do the right thing, karma yoga, right? Good actions, what you give out, you get back kind of thing. Like you have to walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. That's what I think. So I try to be mindful of that. So, I do date because I don't even know if you can call dating apps date. Honestly, I don't even know if is that dating? Is that date? Like, is going on a dating app and like I'm talking to like, I don't know, 5 people or 6 people right now. Like, I'm not like, because you match with them and then some people are like not in the same playing field. Like, they don't want the same thing as you. Some people just want hooking up, casual, whatever. Some people want the friends with benefits. Some people want like they don't know what they want. Some people just got out of a relationship and they're like whatever. And then some people want the serious, like I'm looking for a partner thing. Did I turn off? No, I gotta turn off the oven really quickly. Okay. So, for me, as I was saying, I'm kind of like, this is my philosophy. Because I've had, oh my God, recently I've had the experience where I had a conversation with a guy and he was bi. He told me like he was bi and I was like, okay. I was like, we'll figure it, whatever. I was like, to each his own. I'm not gonna, sometimes the souls meet. If you're super conservative, I'm not gonna like fight you and be like, oh, man and woman, that's the way it needs to be because that's the Bible, right? To me, souls align. Souls. What do I mean by that? Your soul, your essence. And I know I'm kind of throwing a very contradictory thing out there because yes, the Bible says man, woman, I get that. But souls, that's a whole nother ballgame. When 2 souls are, now there's platonic soulmates, like kindred spirits, and then there's like soulmates, like meant to be, kind of thing. And you have to let your soul guide you, right? Now sometimes we're going to have those karmic soulmates who are going to challenge you, and that's and hear me out, in the gang stalking world, that's what that is. That is not a divine counterpart, but that is a lesson to help get you to that next level, right? Now granted, you don't want to get like killed or anything by people, because some people are literally sociopaths or psychopaths and they're crazy narcissists and they take bribes to unalive people or cause people trauma. So like steer clear of that. But more often than not, those are karmic soulmates who are there to teach you about yourself, right? They're there to teach you. So for example, like if you're bad at setting boundaries and you have someone who may be more narcissistic and they want what they want their cake and eat it too, and they know that you're a nice girl, they know that you're sweet and that you're kind, and they want to take advantage of that, right? So they're going to push your buttons, and they're going to try to push you to get you to surrender or, concede your morals, your ethics, or whatever, to try in an effort to get their way. That's narcissistic, right? That's narcissism. And what that dynamic, your soul in that soul tie partnership is trying to teach you or God or universe is trying to say, hey, this person is testing you. Are you going to fail that test? And then that person will keep showing up in every other person. I don't care if it's gang stalking. I don't care if you call it a perp, an op, a honey boo boo, badger, beaver, honey pot, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That is a lesson, and that is there to teach you about yourself. And slowly but surely, I've kind of garnered and like realized, I go, okay, you know what? I gotta be a little bit better. But some of these people are so well trained that they'll know that ahead of time, right? They're trained on your triggers. They're trained, it's a whole world or whatever. Anyways, but with this specific individual, this was a few weeks ago, and we had the first conversation we had a FaceTime. I'm very big, if you are someone that doesn't do a FaceTime, and I don't care if you met someone on an app or not, do the FaceTime. Do a video chat. I know it's maybe awkward, but it's the best way to kind of get to know someone without actually having to meet them in person. Because in the day, forget about gang stalking and targeting. You don't know who the fuck that person is. Some women have, and when Ted Bundy, sought his victims, they weren't targeted or gang stalked. They were just victims, So I encourage you to vet that person before you actually go out with them. And if they don't want to do the little FaceTime thingy, then guess what? You're like, thank you, deuces. You're like, I'm not taking my chances on you. You're a complete stranger. I don't fucking know you. Excuse my language. You don't know the person. And a lot of times people put on a really good act. So in the apps, there is a feature where you can do a video chat thing. There's audio messages. I like the fact that they integrate that because, and what's really good too is that you can keep everything in the app as well. Sometimes if I have a good rapport going with someone, I will exchange my number. I've considered getting a different number altogether to be safe. I have thought of that. Like Google Voice offers a free number. There's different apps that offer different numbers, and I go, maybe I should do that because, your phone number is tied to like your social media profiles, and they could kind of go through their contacts and say, oh, that's the person, if you didn't give them your social stuff. So that's something to be mindful of as well. But I more so wanted to do dating because I want to feel normal. Now I understand that puts me in a compromised position because the enemy can go, oh, this is a good opportunity. We can really, really bamboozle her. And we could break her heart, but I not to say I have a heart of stone. I don't have a heart of stone. I have a very loving, empathetic, compassionate heart, but I also know that I deserve a partnership with someone who is my equal. And I know this because I feel it in my heart. I even feel more than ever. I know that there's someone out there that I'm supposed to partner up with. I don't know who this man is. He's like mystery man. Who's the man of mystery? Was that James Bond? Who do they call it? The internet? Oh, that is James Bond. Wait, International Man of Mystery. Oh no, that's Austin. Wait. Oh no, that's Austin Powers. I'm so stupid. It's Austin Powers. I was thinking James Bond. Anyways, I don't know why that came. I just thought of the Man of Mystery, Mystery Man. So I don't know why, but this is sticking out to me. And a world-class playboy and part-time secret agent from the 1960s emerges after 30 years in I don't know that. In 30 years in a cryogenic state to battle with his nemesis, Dr. Evil. I didn't know that was the whole premise of that. I just know there was different movies. As a swinging fashion photographer by day and a groovy British super agent by night, Austin Powers is the 60s most shagadelic spy. Go figure. Maybe that's relevant for someone. I don't know. What was I saying? I forgot. What was I saying? So, for me, I told myself, I want to put myself out there and date because the thing is, the gang stalking assholes win if I completely, and I will be honest, like, I don't really go out that much. I stay inside, even when I was able to afford my own apartment, because my parents are helping me with this one. When I had my own, like when I moved to Philadelphia, even when I was in Coral Gables, I moved to a building called the Sophia, and I literally just stayed inside the whole time. I'm very much of a homebody. I don't know why. I mean, you know why? I know why. Because I'm an empath and I absorb people's energy. So when I go out on the street and I feel all these different energies and it's overwhelming and overstimulating, I'm like, I can't do this. This is too much. And then the people smoking and then the cigars and the loud music, I'm like, this is just too much. It was like sensory overload. And no, I'm not on the spectrum. I don't have autism. It's just, I'm like, this is overwhelming. It's chaotic. Because I feel everyone's energy like at the same time. And it's just like, I can't do it. So, but I told myself, I deserve, I don't say to be loved, I deserve to experience that, you know? Everyone does. So the most recent experiences I've had to share with, so I do, like I said, I like to do the video chat FaceTime thing because I think, number one, it's like a good way to break the ice with someone. I've also been kind of toying with this idea of, there's a few things, whatchamacallit, long distance, because I've seen videos of guys that, like, they say, it's so funny, there's men that go, they put the little caption, oh, the girl says, the girl says, the guy told me he lives too far, so we broke it off. And then he said, and then the other guy goes, oh, well, what he couldn't do, I do. And so it shows him getting on a plane. He said, oh, too far? And then he says, don't worry, I'll see you tomorrow. And he's like, shows himself on a plane, traveling from wherever he is in another country to going to that person's country. And I was just like, that made me go, you know, when there's a will, there's a way. And so many people, I think, miss out on really good relationships and meeting the love of their life, their soul partner, because they're either like lazy or they're too afraid to like try. And really, you know, long distance relationships are really a super good way to test out someone's fidelity and their loyalty and their commitment and discipline to trying to make something work. And I'm kind of like over people making excuses, saying like, oh, I'm busy, or like the distance. And I mentioned that to people recently, like, oh, the distance or whatever, you know, like I'm kind of over that, because there's no, when you really care about someone, like if you don't want to lose someone and you feel like in your heart, you're like, oh my gosh, I know we would be a really good match. We have so many like things that we're compatible with, and that we're so finely attuned to one another, and there's a flow and a cadence to our the connection or whatever. To let that go, that's just like inexcusable to me. Like so many people miss out. It's almost like you know the movie La La Land, you know, like where Emma Stone's character, I forgot her name, Mia, I think her name's Mia, and then there's Seb, who's played by Ryan Gosling, and they have a falling out because he goes on tour because he becomes really, you know, famous with his band, played with John Legend, and then she does her own thing trying to do whatever in LA with her one-person show, and then they kind of lose touch with each other because he gets so busy doing his thing and then she's doing her thing, and then but he doesn't even take time to go see her show, in her one-person show that she did, that she worked her ass off for, and she was super like supportive of him during his journey of trying to be an up-and-coming like keyboard artist or pianist. And so the dynamic kind of shifts where like she was putting more effort into it than he was, and then he was on tour, whatever, and then because they had an apartment together, and then they broke up, and you know, she wants to give up on the whole dream of whatever, doing the artist thing, and then he finds her, because she moves back home with her parents. I forgot where she lived or whatever. And I think it was a little bit outside of like Hollywood or Los Angeles or something. And then she moves back in with her parents. And he says, like, I'll never forget, Ryan Gosling's character is like, I just found the library that you were talking about that was at the corner. And then he's like, you have an audition tomorrow or whatever. And she's like, no, I can't go. And then he's like, yes, you're going to go. And she's like, no, but I'm not good enough. She starts crying. And he's like, fuck that. He's like, whatever. So then she goes. And then she lands like this big, this role because this director noticed or whatever. And then she goes, and they have to have this discussion about, you know, what do we do? Because they both love each other, but because of communication, right, and the lack of commitment and discipline to hold each, you know, things together. And you look at that and you really wonder how many relationships fall apart because of a lack of communication and follow through. And I literally, like, and this guy wasn't at a distance. He actually, this is another guy that I like the conversation was awesome. I don't even know if I should disclose it. We were talking about, like, because he asked me about kids, and he's like, do you want biological kids. And I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm open to that, but I'm also open to adopting kids because I'm adopted. So I was like, I'm totally like, you know, like, and there's an Thomas Rhett and his wife. You don't know Thomas Rhett? He's a country music artist. He had his own kids, and then him and his wife adopted other kids. And I think people that adopt children are so, like, Sandra Bullock adopted her son, who's Louis, I think, and then Angelina Jolie adopted a bunch of children. So I think that there's a lot of selflessness that comes into that because it's not your own blood. You're not passing on your own genes, and you are taking someone else's child and you're raising them in your home. You don't know their sociocultural status or their whatever, you know. So like, that's really selfless. But also it costs a lot of money. But anyways, we had this kind of, I'm not saying like argument, but I think it got brought up, oh, do you want to have kids? And I was like, yes, I do want to have, you know, and I considered it, but I also considered, oh, what about adopting? Because there's so many kids. Like, I worked in a NICU, and I've seen opiate addicted babies who were left and under DCF care, Department of Children and Families care. And, you know, I was always there to provide, I had volunteers cuddle them and hold them. I would go up and provide developmental appropriate stimulation to them and playtime with them, just to make sure that they were thriving appropriately in that environment and not being like neglected emotionally, right? Because again, trust versus mistrust, that psychosocial stage of development. So, anyways, I was kind of pleading a case. I was like, yeah, no, I'm totally open. Like, I just always think it's a nice thing if people want to do that. And he's like, no, I want to have my own, like, kids. I want to pass on. I'm like, okay. And mind you, this guy was like very, like, he was attractive, very well spoken. He seemed very proactive about taking initiative in terms of like planning a get together. He called me through the app at one point. Like, he actually called me on the phone, and I was like, this dude, I was like, and I told him, I was like, what did I say to him? I was like, and I was being genuine. I wasn't trying to like stab him and like make him feel bad. I just said, I was really hopeful that you were going to be one of the ones to change the dating game or the dating scene for me. And he was like, what? And I said, meaning like, I thought it was going to end with you, like not end with you. Like, I thought it was going to like, you were going to be the reason why it didn't work out with anyone else. Like, you were going to meet, like, you know, because he was very polite. He followed through. He was writing me consistently for like a few days. And then the whole thing with the kids thing got brought up, and I'm like, and then so he kind of really ran with like this whole thing. He's like, but I really want to have, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, I get it, you know? And I told him, you know, I think I said, you know, a word of advice to you, like, you know, and also, oh, something else that happened too. He said he lost his power or something. But like, even so, you have to communicate with someone and say, hey, this and this happened to me, but I didn't forget about you. So that the communication started to like die off a little bit. And then the whole thing about the kids was like, you know, and that's the thing. I never said no. I don't want to have my own children. I just said I think it's a really beautiful thing when people are selfless enough to be like, hey, I'm willing to take a child that's not my own, raise it in my home, and give it a beautiful life. Like, literally, that's like, I don't know. For me, I just thought that, because I'm also, like I said, I'm adopted, so like, I just think if someone does that, it just is like really, it's like selfless. And I never said that's what I want to do. I just said that that's a really nice thing. Or like fostering a child. And of course, I would be, you know, with the right person, because to me, I take having kids very seriously. Look how many people are couples and have children, and then they end up divorced. And now they have children, and the children have to split their time between two different homes. The families are, you know, either, I don't know if it's a mutual split or whatever, but, you know, the kids forever, unless they co-parent really well, because some parents are really good co-parents. Like, I've heard that Chris Martin and Gwyneth Paltrow are like, with Brad Falchuk or whatever his name is, they're really good about making sure that their kids have like a solid upbringing. Some people know how to do it really well. Some people don't know how to do it really well. And if they have family support, it's even better. But more often than not, sometimes it can get really messy. And like, you know, some dads don't know, like, okay, how do I do this on my own? And they want to have a partner, and they want a spouse, and they want to date. And so then the kids kind of get neglected. And then, so then there's custody battles. And it's like, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through that. I want to make sure that I get it right the first time. So if I bring it, and especially being targeted in gang stalk, if I bring a child into this world, I have to be full, like, you have to understand you're bringing a human that's going to be completely and 100% solely reliant on you and dependent on you to meet their physiological needs. So that means you have to have the money, right? You have to have the money saved. And I don't have that right now. You have to be mentally, emotionally stable enough to, especially as a woman, I'm the one carrying the child. It's not like I'm a surrogate and I'm caring it for someone else. Like, I'd be carrying my own child for 9 months. If you've ever been pregnant and you've been targeted or whatever, if not, if you're just happening upon this video because you did, then whatever. But I can't speak to what pregnancy is like. But from what I've heard, everyone has a different experience with that. There's preeclampsia, there's high-risk pregnancies, there's preemie babies that get born in a NICU. I worked in the NICU. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that when you have a child. Religious upbringing, living quarters, do you have adequate housing, right? Do you have the funds to be able to buy diapers, formula, a breast pump? Like, that was I worked in a NICU, so I know what's required. I also volunteered in labor and delivery at Baptist Hospital, Miami, Florida. So I know what is required to be a good parent. And you cannot you don't have time. There's postpartum depression. Women have babies and they're like, oh my God, my whole life, because your life stops. You produce milk, you have to pump for milk all the time. Your breasts will leak milk. So some women put like celery pads on their boobs. Your vagina hurts like hell, after, if you have to get an episiotomy to patch your perineum and your vaginal thing. I mean, it's not like oh, what a cute little baby, it's so cute. No, this is like a living, breathing, it's like having a dog but without the fur, but this thing like is a living creature. And if you're not ready as a human being, as a mother, as a person, to take on that role and responsibility, I would never forgive myself if I was not in the place to raise a child. And then also, if you are raising that with someone as a man, let's say he's not ready for that for whatever reason. Now then you become a single parent. Then you have a relationship that's riddled with strife and grief and problems and chaos and conflict. And then you're fighting about car payments or daycare and babysitters, and are you going to get a second job? I mean, it's a whole thing. Like, your children change everything. And so I take that very, very freaking seriously. So when someone says, oh, do you want biological, that's a really loaded question. Of course I would love that. But I know what's entailed, what's required to be a exemplary parent, so that child is raised and nurtured in an environment that both parties, the man and the woman, are both together in a solid partnership for at least 1 to 2 or 3 years, right? Because you have to talk about parenting styles, politics, religion, child rearing, all of that stuff. Diet, what's their diet going to be like? Are they going to be kosher? Because if the man is Jewish, then we have to follow Jewish law or whatever. If he is I don't know, Muslim. I never thought of marrying someone would be Muslim, but I don't know. Whatever it is, it's like there's so much more that goes into that. And I think people have this very, just like with weddings and engagements and stuff, people have this very rose-colored glasses, like, oh, it's all cute and it's so much fun, and weddings, oh my God, and like, it's not. It's that the wedding is like the that's like a little speck. And it's fun, yeah, do the farmhouse, get the little photo booth, do the little place settings with the thingy, and then go in the buy the dress. Like I get that, that's fun. But the real work comes after that. That's the marriage. when you have to operate as a unit between two people. And I'm not out here looking to fuck that up. So if I'm at the stage in my life where I'm like, hey, you know what, I just want to sift and sort through and see who works well with me and who doesn't, that's what I'm going to do. If I want to be more serious when it comes to dating, then I will. But I know that once I do the serious thing and I meet someone, and if that person sticks, then that's it. All the other people are going to follow the wayside. I'm not going to sit there and talk to 5 or 6 or 7 different people on an app, because I'm going to focus solely and wholeheartedly on making sure that that partnership with that one person works. And when it comes to gang stalking and targeting, that's a whole nother thing as well, because now it's not just like a regular relationship. There's all these other extenuating factors that are proceeding and coexisting alongside that, right? There's the, am I safe? Is the food, because if I have a child right now and I'm sitting here freaking out about food, water, safety, housing, that will be so irresponsible of me. That's why, friends, practice safe sex. Please, for the love of God and all things holy. Don't be like a dingbat like me, like in the beginning when I was like, oh my God, but it feels so much better without a condom. unless you have the Nexplanon thing, unless you have birth control that's already like, you know, some people have an IUD. I don't think I would bode well with that, because I just don't want a foreign object in my uterus. So I use, shout out to I did use Natural Cycles. I stopped because I can't afford it right now, because it's like $21 a month, but it was very, very effective at preventing, it's natural birth control. So basically you track your fertility, you take your temperature every morning. I did a vlog about this like a year ago. You take your temperature every morning, it's your basal body temperature, and based off of that, it's able to tell, and then you also track like other menstrual cycle factors, like, sorry, this is TMI, like cervical mucus, like all this stuff, you know, and bloating, acne, cramps, cravings for food, backaches, insomnia, nausea, a bunch of your diet, everything. It's pretty ingenious. Like I love the Natural Cycles app, and that's what I've used, and I've been successful because I haven't gotten pregnant, and that was for like a year, you know, and I was sexually active. I'm not really that as sexually active now, just because I've had to focus on a bunch of other stuff. But that being said, I very much still, for me, I tell myself, and I don't care, people can plan all they want. I don't want to be arrogant and be like, oh, God's got me. But I also try to do my best to have myself and have my own back. Because let me be honest, no one's going to have your back like you would. You can, and maybe some people are in the behind the scenes protecting whatever, but more often than not, you are going to be your best advocate. We all have a built-in, I think, emotional guidance system, or GPS, that kind of tells us, okay, go left, go right, do this thing, talk to this person, let that person go, whatever. And another thing I want to mention that I've learned as of recent, and I saw this on Instagram, don't ever force something with somebody. Now, with said dude with biological kids, which I don't think he's ever gonna write, which I let the universe play out and do its thing. I know some people meet, you know, for a reason. You know, they say you meet for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So I'm waiting for the guy that's going to step up to the plate and be like, I got this shit, you know, because I've had to do that myself. I've had to enact this sense of bravery and courage within myself, because I don't know all this other minutia that's going on in the world, like why people would be targeting me. I don't know. I did nothing wrong. I don't lie, I don't cheat, I don't steal. In the words of Tim McGraw, don't steal, don't cheat, don't lie. And so I have, you know, I just told myself, you know, I want to have a normal life, you know, and I want to slowly but surely integrate myself back into society, because I isolated myself as a coping mechanism, and I'm also extremely independent as a trauma response. Because I've been let down so many times, so I've just learned to handle it myself, you know. But with that dude, I just I told myself, I go, and I never usually do this, but I said to myself, which he probably either says this girl's crazy and psychopathic, or she's or she's very like 2026, the, no shame. And I told myself, I told him, I was like, it's 2026. I go, I'm going to be, very candid. And I said, you know what? Women can ask men out these days. Like, women can do that. We're at this point in time where I think it's okay if you like somebody, if you're interested in somebody and you see that, but some people are just a lot more shy, Some people just, I think, and men have it hard because society dictates that they're the ones that are supposed to, take that step forward in trying to, facilitate a connection, right? With you, if that's what you want. And so that's a lot of, that's a burden, right? Imagine if you're a dude and you're interested in someone and you have to put that effort forth to talk to them. That's hard. And if you're naturally as a person, you're not that demonstrative and like me, as a woman, growing up I was never flirtatious. Everyone else around me was touching each other. At the high school I went to, everyone was very touchy-feely. I went to an art school, so art schools are no holds bars. They just, but and I just sat back and I was just whatever. I was this Catholic schoolgirl going to this public school system. It was very different. It was kind of like a culture shock, if you will. But, the guys have it hard. And there's some guys who are too forward, who think they're I'm super papi chulo, you need to date, we're going to do this, we're going to hang out, we're going to cuddle, and we're going to do, I appreciate that. But there's men who are more reticent and apprehensive and they want to be mindful and respectful. Those are good guys. Those are kind of the nice guys. And I don't think nice guys finish last. I think some guys, when you think long term, you don't want to be bored for the rest of your life, but the nice guy is going to be the guy when you have a daughter. He's going to be the kind of guy, let's say your daughter gets her period for the first time. He's going to be the kind of guy that will say, hey, do you need a heating pad? Or, don't feel bad if people make fun of you, or don't worry, I got you. Or he's going to be the type of guy that when your kids are, not feeling good at school, he'll go and he'll pick up McDonald's, on the way to pick up if they're needing to leave school early. That's what the good guy does. The jerk guy, who's a dick, will be in his man cave, in his basement, watching, the football game and expecting you to be dressed in, your Sunday best and bringing him a burger or a fully cooked meal after raising his children, and breastfeeding them, and then wanting to, sleep with you at the end of the night and go down on him and cater to his every need. I'm telling you, that's literally, I guarantee you. I guess I don't know if it's called a trad wife, but that's, a true union is when two people come together for the purpose of co-creation. That's I remember, I think Oprah said that on Super Soul Sunday. It's when, I think, right? And I wrote that down on an index card. To this day, I still have that on an index card. I put that on my desk, my corkboard years ago. It's when a soul partnership is when two people come together for the purpose of co-creation. Personalities don't meet, souls do. Souls align with each other. So a lot of people, I will be honest, from what I've noticed, they will partner up because on paper, both families, you're wealthy, you're whatever, you're Catholic, boom, perfect, let's do this. And then there's no spark, there's no chemistry. But because the family wants it, because the family tries to intercede, then people end up whatever. And then guess what? They get bored by year 3, year 5. They have the kids, they have the house in the suburbs. The husband has a good job. The wife, does her thing. But then the wife gets bored, right? Or husband gets bored. And husband is at office party. And husband there's new, intern, secretary. Sexy, fresh energy. New intern comes and works for said husband. And, they go out for lunch one day, because why not? wife is at home with the kids or whatever, doing maybe a teaching as a teacher part-time or something, and then husband, starts to develop feelings for said intern or secretary, and next thing you know, they're carrying on a full-on affair. And then now the wife has to deal with a whole shish kebab with, this affair that she never thought, because she thought, oh, he's a good guy and he's traditional, he would never do that, and he's a man of God. No. This is why, friends, I mention about, the sex and the intimacy and having a true solid, like being on all trifecta, right? Having the sexy time, have like the physical connection, having the emotional, and having the mental. Because if you don't have all of those things together, and you on paper, it seems like it's good because it's what both families want, or you think it's the right thing or whatever, or in the opposite thing, you get pregnant and now you're stuck with this guy's kid and you don't love each other, but you hooked up one night and you got pregnant and now you have a baby. You have a human that you share with another human being. That's his kid, that he's entitled to by law, that he can fight custody for. This is the thing. These are real life scenarios that happen to people. And so I've been very particular about who I want to align myself with and give my time and company to, because that is ultimately going to dictate the trajectory of my destiny, my life. And the same thing goes for you too. Now, yes, there's that other variable of targeting and gang stalking. I'm not going to shy away from that. That is something I am going through, and I'm hoping that one day it'll stop. I don't know if I need to move to another country or move to another city or state, because I have noticed that in different states it's different. Like in different locations it's not as prevalent, or not as prevalent, it's just not as what's the word, it's not as frequent in other areas. Like when I lived in Vermont, like here all the time, I mean, it's so, oh my God. And maybe it's just because I hope there's not that many emergencies, but there's so many, it's so loud. The sirens that go off all the time. There's noise harassment that's happened. I mean, big cities are like the worst for targeting, like the worst. When you're in a smaller area, but granted, if you don't have a car, it's really hard to get around, and you may not have like a fire station nearby or a doctor's office or a hospital, so you have to be mindful of that. But I have noticed that in smaller, more rural areas, it's a little bit easier to manage targeting, because you're not gonna, when you're in the city, you have a bunch of people who can get bought off and bribed. There's a lot more homelessness that occurs, so those people are also very prone or very apt to get in on it, right? Especially if they're short on cash or whatever, if they don't have any morals or scruples, of course they're going to participate in that. So, I'm not naive to the fact. I don't know. I'm not delusional. I've witnessed firsthand goodness and grace and humility in my life play out before all this stuff happened. So, I don't know. To me, I'm hopeful, I don't know. I don't expect a fairy tale kind of romance thing. I know that's what we're kind of raised to believe because we watch Disney movies and the princess gets rescued, whatever, the damsel in distress. But Disney kind of shifted though, because now they put the power in the hands of like the what used to be a damsel in distress now is she's her own character, her own protagonist, like Moana, Elsa and Frozen, Merida from Brave, the little girl from Wreck-It Ralph, who Sarah Silverman does the voice of with John C. Reilly. Who else am I missing? I know I'm missing a bunch. Who else? Raya, I guess her name. With Sisu, the Sisu dragon. Lilo and Stitch, I don't know. Anyways, my point is that I don't wait around to get rescued by people. Like I told one of the guys, I was like, you can choose to go if you want to. I'm gonna go. I was like, I want to go see a movie in the park. Whether you're gonna do, I was like, whether you're gonna go or not. Because I don't wait around for people. I'm not gonna wait around for someone to do something that I love to do, especially if it's free. Because why not? Why am I? And that's the one thing I will want to encourage people to do, regardless of people being, forget about targeting, forget about hacking, forget about whatever. Take yourself out on a solo date if you can afford to. Don't be afraid to sit at a movie. I've been to movie theaters alone when I was in Philadelphia. I saw a movie called Love Again with, oh, he's so fucking, oh my God. Oh, that's like my crush, my celebrity crush. I have two what's his face? The guy from the movie Hitman. But he wasn't a hitman. He was like undercover hitman. Glenn Powell, I think that's his name. He was in Anyone But You, and then he did also another movie called Hitman. Glenn Powell, I think he's so oh my God. He's such a dork. I don't know. He could be a total asshole in real life. I don't know, but he's very handsome. And I don't just go by looks, but like, dude's handsome. And then the other guy from Outlander, Sam Heughan, who I think that was a really good casting for, because I read those books by Diana Gabaldon. Gabaldon? I don't know. Anyways, they turned it into a TV show on Starz, and he plays Jamie Fraser, and I'm like, holy shit balls. Anyhow, moving on. I never used to have, no, I did. I had celebrity crushes for a while, and then, but those I would say, I don't like fawn over them, but like they're attractive men, you know, and they do really good in the films. So anyways, moving on, move that off to the side. But I went to a movie by myself called Love Again with that guy, with the red-haired, orange-haired guy, with the beautiful green, blue eyes or whatever. And then, I've taken breakfast by myself, or I ate breakfast by myself, because I have no shame. Like plus I do Yelp and stuff, so like I enjoy sitting by myself and like taking pictures of stuff and then Yelping about it after. But I went to a restaurant called Alice Pizza. If you ever go to Philadelphia, please check out Alice Pizza. It is so fucking good. It is so freaking, the gelato is delicious, and I had ravioli with pesto sauce. It's like chef's kiss. Oh my God. It's so freaking good. And then they have the wine. I remember I sat at the bar. I sat by myself, like in this cozy little like two-top thing. And like, I just went by myself, and I paid attention. I wasn't on my phone the whole time, and I loved it. And then I got a dessert. Reminder, I spent like $100, but that's when I had money. And I did have savings, so I could afford it. My parents weren't happy about it, but I was a happy little clam of a person. And I covet my private time. Sometimes it's almost better to be by yourself, and you learn a lot about yourself, because then when you're by yourself, you know your strengths and weaknesses, and then you've worked on yourself enough so you can be a better partner for someone else, I think, for the most part. So, but I did that. I did a massage. Like, I got a deep tissue massage twice or 3 times in Philadelphia. Best thing ever. If you are someone who has tons of stress, I encourage you, go get Reiki healing and do a deep tissue massage. No, I did not wait around for anyone to do a couples massage. Do I want to do it one day? Yes. See, I get so nervous talking about it because it's so like steamy and stuff, you know, because it's like with the person. Anyways, I don't know. See, I get nervous when I talk about it. Moving on. What are some other things I did? I went to Orlando by myself. I have been wanting to do, oh my God, like, I don't know how long I've been wanting to do, like, I wanted to go to Disney with friends. And I kind of did that for like a child life conference years ago. I went with like my coworker people when I was like a novice child life specialist. This was back when they had child life conference at the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin. And then I just got excited. I was thinking about Disney and I got sidetracked. But yes, and one of my bucket list things is like always when I was younger, I was like, oh my God, I would love to come here, like on a date, like with a guy, and like go hold hands and like walk through Epcot and do like the drinking around the world thing. And like, I don't know, I just, because it's so cute, because Disney's very like happy and whatever, you know, and like it would be so cute to like do that with someone as like a date thing or like a honeymoon thing. I don't know. It sounds so whatever, but that's kind of what it was. The Bahamas. I'm being really vulnerable here. Like I'm sharing my most inner desire thing, but it was the Bahamas, and when I was into like the whole wedding shit, I'm not really into it now. I really don't give a shit about that stuff. I'd rather have a really good vacation than spend $50,000 and with a bunch of people for like 4 hours. Like give me like I'll go to, I don't know, Italy, whatever. But it was the Bahamas, Atlantis, and then Walt Disney World. I wanted to go gallivanting. Or now, actually, I take it back. I'd go to Super Mario. I would take it back. I would go to Super Mario World. But when I talk about solo dates, I went to Orlando by myself with Bonnie when we were going back up from Florida to Virginia on a road trip. I said, you know what? And I had money back then. I said, I am going to take myself to... I wanted to go... I was so... Because I love Star Wars. I geek out over Star Wars. I didn't, like, read the books or whatever, but I watched all the movies because I was raised on Star Wars. And so they did they recreated the ride called Rise of the Resistance. They literally created, like, all the stormtroopers and, like, they made, like, a base, like, in MG or Hollywood Studios. And I told myself, I was like, I need to go, like, before I die, I need to go on this ride. Like, I need to go to, it's not, well, Tatooine is the thing. I think it's called Batu. What they recreated in Orlando. And I was like, I need to go to this, and I need to get Disney popcorn, and I need to get a sundae, like an ice cream sundae, because they make really good ice cream sundaes, and then I want to put the sprinkles on top. And then there's also a restaurant in that same place called Hollywood and Vine, and they have like the best pancakes. I didn't go there, but anyways, I'm trying to remember what else I did. I went on the Disney bus. I stayed at Port Orleans Riverside because it's a pet-friendly hotel. But I went by myself. Like, I legit took myself, not with, like, impromptu, last minute. I was like, fuck it. And I looked on Google, and I was like, and I booked, I got there at, like, 2 or 3 in the morning. The security guard was like, where are you coming from? I'm like, and I had all my shit, like, packed up. And I was like, hi. I was like, I'm on my way to Virginia, but I wanted to stop at here. And I stayed there for, like, a day, I think. Right? And then I got like a Disney pass to do like 1 or 2, I don't know if I went to, did I go to Magic Kingdom? Or did I go to Animal Kingdom? I don't remember what I did. I got a park hopper, I think. And I did single rider line. I don't know if I went on the Mount Everest ride. I don't know what I did. But I know I went to Disney and I had a wonderful time. Oh, I went to Epcot. And I went, oh my God, the best fucking ride ever. Because Disney fucking outdid themselves. They spent like millions of dollars on this thing. If you have never been on Guardians of the Galaxy, I strongly encourage you to do so. It is the best fucking, excuse my language, ride like ever. I went on Rock and Roller Coaster, the one with the Aerosmith in the background. And I ended up loving Aerosmith because of that ride. Because I love classic rock. I love 60s and 70s, like, classic rock. Like, AC/DC is 80s, right? Yeah. Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin, whatever. Like, but, Aerosmith, what's that? Extreme, Boston, Kansas, Leonard Skinner, Cat Stevens, obviously Beatles is like 1950s, whatever. But I have I actually took, and fun fact about me, if you don't know, because I love music, I actually took at FIU, which is my alma mater, I did, one of my electives was the history of the Beatles. And I kid you not, I took a whole class and I learned the entire anthology from like, Please Please Me, Help, Revolver, the White Album, Beatles for Sale, everything. Magical Mystery Tour. I love Magical Mystery Tour, that album. All the way down to like their last, whatever. So I was very much into the Beatles. It was like happy music to me. So fun fact about me, I took a Beatles class and I got great. Oh, and I had to know the lyrics. I had to know. So if you don't know, Pete Best was actually a former Beatle. He was the drummer for the Beatles. Fun fact. If you don't know who that is, go look it up. And they were actually gonna. And then the song Yesterday was actually Paul McCartney titled it Scrambled Eggs at first instead of Yesterday. He called it Scrambled Eggs. And yeah, fun stuff. But yeah, solo dates. Take yourself out on solo dates. Where am I Nat? I don't know why I said Nat. Maybe someone's name is Natalie. I don't know. Maybe that's important. Maybe your name is Natalie. Maybe, I don't know. Anyways, moving on. What is next on the agenda for dating? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just trying to survive every day because every day is something different. I'm very proud of myself for, and I don't know if this is TMI. I was going to say something that I did today that I hadn't done in a while. I don't know if I should say it. I want to be a good, it's not that it's not a bad role model, it's just, it's a very private thing. You know, like when people do sexting or whatever, I didn't really say do sexting, but I actually, so because I lost a lot of weight, if you've been following my journey, I was like 88 pounds. No, I didn't have an eating disorder. I had a traumatic experience in Indiana where I think my drink got spiked with something, and my food, don't ask me why, I don't know. It was very scary, and I lost a lot of weight, and I got traumatized because of that, and I didn't want to like eat anything because I thought I was like, someone was like doing something on purpose, like maliciously. So lost a lot of weight, moved to Chicago here. Similar things started happening with my foods, and I started having weird reactions to like everything. And then now I'm like 105 or 107 last time I checked, I think. I mean, it fluctuates, it depends, but I told myself I was really sad because I was like, I lost my tetas and I lost my culo. You know, my tetas, if you don't know what that means, you know, semantics, context, if you don't speak Spanish. Tetas, culo, top, bottom. And I was very, very sad because I looked like a concentration camp victim. You could see you can't see it anymore, but you could see my rib cage. I was skin and bones. Like, it was very scary, and I told myself, with some encouragement, like from family, like they just, and other people too, were like, you have to eat. And I go, but I'm really scared to eat because I get a weird reaction to everything. I either faint or my heart, and that could be anxiety, but like I was having really, really weird reactions to things. And I had horrible stomach aches and nausea. I didn't throw up ever, but it was scary. And now I'm gaining weight again, and for the first time I put on lingerie, and actually I couldn't take myself seriously when I was taking pictures because I am talking to someone, and we were, you know, talking, and I was like, oh, I haven't done pictures like that in a while, you know, and it's nothing super risque, like all my parts are covered except my behind, but I hadn't done that in a while, and I almost felt like crying because I never thought that I would gain weight back. And if you look at pictures of me from a year ago when I was in Vermont and I was doing the kind of boudoir lingerie pictures and whatnot, I had a much fuller, more voluptuous figure. Not to say I was not overweight, I wasn't obese, but I was like 123, 126. I would fluctuate between 123 and 127. So I had some, you know, meat on me. And now I'm like 107, not 108, but like 107, 106, probably around there. And I feel really grateful that, and if you are a woman, and if you are like me and you were raised very modestly and conservatively in the sense of like, you know, like I said before, I said this in one of my first videos when I talked about like the NSFW series thing, was that I used to be so, like, I was a very devoted, like, cat, like I felt sinful when I walked by a Victoria's Secret store, whether it was at the Falls Mall in Florida or Miami or Dayland Mall. or even Merrick Park Mall in Coral Gables. Like, I literally would like be like, nope, I am not looking that way. Half naked people, I'm not doing it. Even Abercrombie and Fitch, when they had like the models with the shirts, I was like, nope, because they'd cover their boobs and it'd be like, you know, they'd be like with their shirt off, wearing jeans in the ad campaigns for Abercrombie and Fitch and Hollister or whatever. And I was like, no, my eyes, I cannot see this. I was like, this is so bad. So I just, you know, I did more like lingerie pictures and stuff. And I encourage you, if you are a woman, and it is not sinful to love on yourself, and not in like an egotistical, arrogant way. It's like there's something to be said for when you embrace your divine femininity. God intended that, just like the same thing for men. God, and we were all, and it doesn't matter if you're straight, gay, whatever, you can be a gay woman, and maybe you know, we all have yin and yang, right? Or you can be a gay man or whatever. We all have that divine essence of masculinity. We have divine feminine and masculine in us, but when you are biologically, your assigned gender at birth is female. We'll just go with the heteronormative thing, right? There's something to be said when you embrace that part of yourself, and you do it unapologetically and unabashedly. When you do that, and you see that play out with people who are not overly arrogant, but they know themselves, they're confident in themselves, and they might have been a late bloomer, they might have been an ugly duckling, who knows, when they were younger, but everyone comes into their own eventually. But when you end up loving yourself, not in an overly arrogant or prideful way, that radiates outside of you. There's a quote by Roald Dahl, who wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Charlie and the Golden Ticket, whatever, you know, the kid with the movie with the Oompa Loompas and stuff, or whatever. He wrote that book, and there's a quote where he says, when you think good thoughts, positive thoughts, they shine out of you and they radiate. Hold on, or is it Roald Dahl? If you think good thoughts. He said this, and I used to have this quote on my wall. If you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely. It's kind of like the same thing. I'm going to throw another thing in there. When you get dressed in the morning, don't ever, if you're a female, don't get dressed for the male gaze. And I don't mean gaze like Gays. I mean Gaze. Don't dress for them, for male attention. Same thing for men. Don't dress for the female attention. Dress for yourself. And start to see how your self-esteem and your confidence will shift. That's what I do. Because I kid you not, when I was living in Vermont and Indiana, I was secluded. And I still was like on Stitch Fix, and I'm like, oh, I want this. I like this one, I don't like this one. Because they have this little thing where you can like swipe through it and you're like, I like this one, I don't like this one. And then the algorithm personalizes and curates your own like style or whatever. And like, I never dressed up for other people. When I was younger, I used to care about, when I was like in middle school, oh my God, all the time. I was like, I need to go to Limited 2. I need to go, which now is called Justice. Funny enough, it's called Justice. Go figure, I don't know why. It's like the preteen juniors stuff. I used to go to Zara, the store called Zara, which is like it's European, and I wanted like the short skirts with the little flowers, and then I wanted to look cute, and I did that all because I wanted to like be accepted in middle school because I wasn't that, popular or whatever. So as an adult now, I'm like, fuck it, I just want to dress for myself. And so if you are a female, and I'm gonna get to my point, if you are a female and if you want to feel sexy and confident, you don't need a man to tell you that. Go to Sephora, talk to if you can afford it. I can't afford Sephora right now. There's also Ipsy, but Ipsy is a digital platform. But go to Sephora, go to Nordstrom's, go to Macy's, go to the cosmetic counter and say, hey, can you give me, this was on my bucket list and I never did it, but you could say, hey, can you give me like a makeover? Can you do like makeup on me and talk to them, or I think Sephora would be the best one. And go into they have little perfume samples. Go and smell the perfumes. Treat yourself they'll give you a little sample of perfume for free, and they may even give you a sample of foundation. And take the time to put that into yourself, because that's self-care. And then maybe sign up, go buy, go to Victoria's Secret's Pink, or go to, like, I don't know, what's another, there's online, like, there's Adore Me, there's Wantable, oh my god, what was it called? And I should know this. Is it called Moxie? There was another one that I wanted to try that looked so cute, and I never bought. I think it was called Hello LA Girl or something, but it had beautiful like lace lingerie, like little bodysuit things. And for me, like, going back to what I was saying, I used to think it was sinful to even look in that direction. And then I finally, when I started to become sexually active, I said, you know what, this is not a bad thing, to wear stuff like that, because you're adorning your body with fabric that is beautiful and that evokes a feeling of femininity, right? Because lace is associated with that, and there's a certain softness and romanticism that comes with that. So if you want to do, like manifestation, law of attraction stuff, if you want to do that for yourself, it starts with you. And then, like I said with that quote by Roald Dahl, he says, if you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely. Because a happy person is a lot more attractive than an unhappy person. I mean, granted, I went through a lot of shit, and I'm still going through that, but I still tell myself, I make sure, it's imperative that I tell myself, no matter what I go through, I want to make sure that I think good thoughts, because they will radiate out of you. And there's a very, I always say, like, especially like in dating, when I'm swiping through someone's profile, I usually swipe on the profiles of the men who have smiles on their faces, who are doing something that they love doing, whether it's with their friends, or if they're with animals, or with family, and their smile reaches their eyes, and it's genuine, like their cheeks, perk up, and you could just tell they're happier, versus the guy that's like, there's a very distinct difference between those men, and the guys that are just like, that are happy because they're inherently, like, intrinsically happy, if that makes sense. So when you take time to cultivate yourself, and I've done that shadow work, I've done that healing work, I took myself on solo dates, I've tended to my soul. Cooking also helped me a lot with that, because I cooked for myself. I also, when I was dating, I cooked for other people, but it was very nice to nourish my body and my soul with something that I put time and effort into, that ended up tasting amazing and looking really good too. So all of those things culminate to creating you. And so if you're looking to attract a partner who's synonymous with those whatever core values that you have, first of all, you have to exemplify and embody those core values within yourself, and you have to take the time necessary to treat yourself like a prize, or the kind of person that would be considered dateable. So I hope that makes sense. So solo dates are important. I think that's a good takeaway for this one. And then, also long distance connections, I think, or any connection for that matter, make sure, if you're a guy too, like, make sure you keep the lines of communication open, because I'm telling you, like, you will lose out on meeting someone who's really, really, like, could be the love of your life and be your forever person, because you lacked follow through. It's really shitty. It's really, really shitty. Also, other key takeaways as a woman, don't be afraid, if you are a woman, or, don't be afraid to ask a man out. I know that sounds really, like, very forward, but we are in obviously a digital age. I don't think and it sounds very feministic or feminism inclined. It's not that hard. If you like someone, right, and if it's natural and organic, if there's a natural rapport and flow and a cadence to the conversation, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, hey, I really like you, and I think, it would be fun to hang out with you one day. Would you want to hang out with me? It's very nonchalant, it's very candid, very easy. There's nothing monumental. There's no ring, like you're not just, hey, I like you. There's, like Toy Story, like for me, like the movie, what's it called? Toy Stories came out. And I'm like, and they're doing, I think I said on Instagram, it said the AMC and Regal are doing like really cheap movie tickets. And I was like, fuck it. I was like, I'm not going to wait. I told myself, I'm not going to wait around for, like, it would be nice to go with someone. But to be honest, like, I kind of want to sit in a chair by myself and watch the movie myself. Because then I have to think about the person and, like, be like, oh my God, is he going to, like, is his knee going to touch my knee? Am I going to put my hand, like, I don't want to, I just want to watch the movie. And I want to watch Tom Hanks as Woody and whoever else, Tim Allen as Buzz. And I think, what's his face? Bad Bunny is the pizza. He plays the pizza with sunglasses. So, I don't know. I just think, for me, I told myself, like, fuck it. If I have time, I'm going to take myself out to a movie. It's like $1. I mean, if it's $1, why, I don't want to wait around. If a guy I need to wait around for you, I don't want to. If I have to wait around for someone to choose me, like, bitch, what the fuck? Like, I don't have time for that. Nobody has time for that. Not that the world's going to end or anything, but ain't nobody got time for that. So, those are some key takeaways. And then also, this is what I was going to mention, because this was one of the first scenarios I mentioned, is that if a conversation, word to the wise, if a conversation, in your very, very first conversation with a person, if they're already bringing up, like planning, like future, like, what is it, this one dude, this was the guy that he said he was bisexual, that's one of the key characteristics, because he mentioned it. That's just stuck out to me. That's like a sole determinant of whatever. It's just, that was a key thing, characteristics that about him. And he said, what was he talking about? Oh, the timeline. He was basically like getting all technical and planning out the timeline of like when we need to meet, and like the whole conversation was about, okay, but if it's like 2 weeks in and we're still talking and I haven't met you, he's like, then I'm gonna have to let you go. And I was like, in my mind, I was already checked out. I was like, deuces, bitch. I was like, I'm out. I was just being nice. I was like, okay. I was like, well, like I said, I don't really know people that well, and I would much rather do a FaceTime like we're doing now, and I'm going through a lot, so I'm not really sure if I feel safe enough. And a true gentleman who's emotionally intelligent, considerate and empathetic and selfless would go, oh, okay, I noticed that. I'm so sorry you're going through that. This is what I would say if I was a dude. I'd be like, okay, I'm so sorry you're going through that. Whenever you're ready, whenever that will be, I will be here for you, and I would still love to get to know you, and I'm going to respect your time. I'm going to respect your boundaries, and, I hope that you'll soon be able to see that I am someone who could be somewhat a source of, comfort and support, and that you eventually be able to trust me. That's what I would say. Not, yeah, but like, it's going to be like 2 weeks, like I need to like see you in 2 weeks, and then hopefully we'd be already having sex by then. And then after that, maybe possibly like going out on more dates, and then I want to get exclusive. Like, this was in the first conversation. I was like, bro, in my head, I'm just like, this is not fun. Like, I'm not here to, I want to get to know you. Like, what's your favorite food? Like, what are you most afraid of? What's your favorite childhood memory? What's something really hard that you went through in life that gave you a lot of perspective and growth and character? Like, that's what I want to know. I don't want to sit there and plan, like, you're sitting there planning out the trajectory and the timeline of the technicalities of how we're going to, the logistics of how we're going to get together. Like, what the, no. I don't want to talk about, that's so sterile and like clinical. Who wants to sit there? No, I want to laugh with you. I want to be inspired by you. I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know what are your dreams? What are your bucket list goals? Do you have goals? Who are the family members that mean the most to you? What's your favorite memory growing up as a kid? What's your greatest achievement? Stuff like that. I don't want to sit there and, like, what's your favorite sport? Do you play on a team, or let's do flag football one day together. Let's play dodgeball one day. I don't know. I don't give a shit. Like, do you go salsa dancing? Will you ever go salsa dancing with me? That's the kind of thing that I'm eager to, care about, not sitting there talking about playing like. So, and this is why folks, this is why we date, and this is why, right? This is why when people are like, oh my god, you're talking to too many people, you're talking to like 7 people. Bitch, let me give you a little insight. I literally just maybe 3 hours ago, after I took my shower, right, 3 or 4 hours ago, there was a guy on the thing, and immediately I knew what his intentions were, because he said, I hope you like it. This is, sorry, not trigger warning, just what's the adult content thing. I hope you like long and thick. That's what he told me. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, cringe. Because, and I know Tinder is notorious for like hookups and whatever, but I'm just like, bro, I'm like, bro, there's a way to segue into that. You don't throw that right at the beginning, bro. Like, that's not what, because that's not attractive to me. I'm not gonna get turned on by a man who's like, no, bro. Like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, even if I was a horn dog, not me, but like, even if he's a horn dog, there's a way to present that to somebody without seeming overbearing or overstep, you know? Like, there's a way to segue into that kind of stuff with being classy, not trashy. So it's like, I told him, I was like, I think we want different things, because I'm not really like looking, like, I love, like, I enjoy that stuff, but I don't want that to be the focal point, or like what the sole focus of something, you know? Like, I get it, like, biology dictate, like, I get horny, you know, aroused too, but like, I'm not here to just solely do that. Like, I really want to meet someone, like, have a friendship, and like have a, you know, a good partner and stuff like that. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm mature, I can do that. Like, I can, you know, be the communicator. I'm like, would I lead with that? Whenever I introduce myself to someone, what I try to do, a little word to the wise for people, is I look at people's profiles, and I look to the thing that makes them happy the most, or what brings them the most joy. So sometimes there's a dad that has their child in the picture. Maybe it's, I know a lot of men go fishing and they show they're like, I'm like, oh, you caught a big fish. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Or maybe they're playing sports and they're doing basketball. So I'm like, oh, are you on a sports team? How, like, when do you play, or how often do you do it? Or is it like a recreational thing? Is it a, you know, or if they're wakeboarding or surfing, or if they traveled somewhere. I love the guys that travel places, because it just, to me, it shows that they're very cultured and they're eager to, I don't know, go to different landscapes and stuff and learn about different cultures and things. I think that's pretty cool. Unless they do it for work, I don't know, but that's intriguing to me. So, yeah. And so I try to find something that I think, I don't ever lead with, hey, cutie pie, you know, hey, good looking. I don't do that shit. I can't do that. I'll ease into the flirting and stuff later on, but you know, when I'm talking to someone, because that's your first impression, right? And I try to always tell myself, you want to be someone, not a little bit of a mystery, but you also want to be classy, you know? And if you're different than me, and if you're like, girl, I just go straight for the D, and I'm like, okay, then you do you, boo-boo. There's a guy on Instagram, he's so funny. I don't know his full name, but he's like, all you need, he's like, is for whatever, he's like, a good chicken Caesar wrap, some good, and then he says something else. I'm like, but he is pretty funny. Like, it's true though. I mean, sometimes you can't overthink it, and you just enjoy the experience of it. But I have learned to be a little bit more discerning when it comes to relationships and stuff. And then setting boundaries is important too, because people will try to push your boundaries. They will try to overstep them. So, because, you know, men want what they want. And there's women out there too. If you're a guy, you know, there's women who are very forward. And I try to balance, you know, the being forward with, like, not being super forward. But I did, like, recently, I was very proud of myself, because the one dude about the biological kids, I was like, I felt, because of the, mind you, it's like when you do a job interview, which you never want dating to feel like a job interview. But because of the conversation that I had previously with him, I deemed him someone that I go, you know what, I feel like we'd be compatible. Now, he did say something like, the conversation, I don't know what happened, it like, after the kids thing, it like started to die down, and I'm like, okay, I was like, I don't know what this is about, but I guess, like, I really turned him off talking about adoption or whatever. So, the communication died off because it was very consistent at one point, and he was responsive in a timely manner, and he had good attention to detail and whatnot, and he was reciprocal, like he asked questions about me and whatever. So that's important to me when there's a reciprocity, and when I mean by reciprocity is like when someone asks, like you ask a question and then they ask a question about you, that kind of thing, because there's a good rapport back and forth. It's didactic, right? Like you say something, I say something, and versus like, one person is one-sided and someone's always initiating. That's another thing. If you're as a woman, if you're always initiating the conversation, the guy doesn't like you. Just, the movie He's Just Not That Into You. Take it as a hint. Now, don't ask me. Some people like to just have a backup option if their current person doesn't work, or if the other person that they're talking to, like, it doesn't follow through with them, so they keep you as the backup. So they give you they breadcrumb you and give you like the bare minimum. Just be mindful of that, because that's silly to me. You don't ever want to be the backup option or whatever. But if you're always the one to initiate the conversation, then probably the guy doesn't really. Because think, if he was interested in you, or if anyone was interested in you, they would talk to you. Right? That's basic human behavior in science. Like if someone, like a job, if a job wants you, they will do everything in their power to have you. They will relocate you. They will pay for a bonus. They'll give you the uniform, or I don't know. They'll offer you the job. They'll continue the interview process. So look at it like that way. Compare it to a job. I know it sounds kind of like clinical and technical, but if someone is interested in you, they will make the effort to talk to you. Now, some people are legitimately busy, and these dingbats who don't take the time to be like, hey, I've seen this on Instagram so many times. There are guys that will like literally be like, they'll record themselves, hey babe, I'm kind of busy, or hey whatever, I'm kind of busy right now, I'm but I'll text you later, and they show their phone and they're like 5 seconds. That's all it takes, is 5-second voicemail or a text message. 5 seconds to say, hey, I'm busy right now, but I didn't forget about our conversation and whatever, and I'm thinking of you. So if a guy can't do that, then guess what, my friends, and that person's not into you. Maybe someone needs to watch that movie, He's Just Not That Into You. And if that's the case, then guess what? You kindly exit stage left, and you say thank you so much. Guten Tag. Maybe that's someone's German. I think Guten Tag is thank you in German. You say Guten Tag, or muchas gracias, and adios. Au revoir. Arrivederci. Goodbye. Muchas gracias. And then that's it. And then you'll meet someone else who will appreciate you, hopefully, but also appreciate yourself. So, but yeah, communication and consistent communication. Consistency in communication is key across the board. If there's no communication, then it's just, because how are you going to expect to create any foundation of anything if there's no communication? You can't. And if you think a relationship's going to solely work off of sex, then you are sorely mistaken. You can have the best sex of your life. You can have the guy who's ready and willing to drop his pants, and you could be just as hot to trot. But if you don't have things in common, commonalities, if they can't be a source of respite for you and peace, or someone that you can go to if you're having a hard time, then guess what? They're probably not the best person for you. And yeah, you can have a fun time. Sex can be a lot of fun, especially when it's with someone that you're really compatible with. But, I've had that where it's been a virtual thing before with just a person, and they never actually met me, and it was just virtual. And that was disappointing because he was cute too. He was like a nerdy, cute guy. And, you know, it never went anything past virtual. So, you win some, you lose some. But anyways, that's the updates for today. And if you say, Ashley, well, you're saying you're going through all this stuff like drugging and poisoning, and why would you put yourself? Well, because I deserve to live a normal life, just like all targeted people. We all deserve that. We literally have we have human rights that dictate that. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness, having a happy, healthy, prosperous life, fulfilled life. And part of that is meeting a solid life partner whom you have things in common with, and having friends, and having a fulfilling, rewarding job, and being an active contributing member to society, and being welcomed by the community that you live in. All of that encompasses and comprises what is, in that. I don't know if it's the preamble, but it's what in the Constitution it's outlined. And maybe those are just words to you people. Maybe it's just like, oh, that's cute, that's nice. The Constitution, oh yeah, well, we don't, in the gang stalking world, we don't give a shit. Well, I do give a shit, because that's a living document that governs and guides our actions and behaviors just as much as 10 Commandments or the Yoga Code or the Torah or the Bible. It's the same thing. I mean, granted, separation of state, religion and state, but we hold these truths, right? Truth, what is truth? Truth is fact. Something that's proved truthful or honest, right? To be self-evident, right? Meaning that we hold these truths to be self-evident, like apparent in its own, that all men and women, are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator, God, with certain inalienable rights, meaning that they can't be revoked or taken away, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So I tell myself, I deserve that. I don't think it's anything extravagant. I'm not fighting for anything super avant-garde. It's just... And so if a man wants to be a perp or a honey boo-boo badger beaver pot, whatever the fuck you want to call it, let them. I'm not a honey pot, and I never will be that. I am good, and I am kind, and I do the right thing, and therefore I know that there must be, in this macrocosm of a world, someone who is an extension of that, an extension of my soul. And if you want to get really technical, yes, when you talk about soulmates, there's this idea that, we all come from the source. If you don't know, there's a guy named Aaron Doughty, right? There's Victor. I used to watch Victor Otto and Aaron Doughty talked a lot about the oversoul. In yoga, it's called Atman, or was it Purusha? I think it's Atman, is the ultimate, the super self soul, right? The oversoul. And then there's this idea that we have all these other souls that break off, and there's this idea that your soul is, it separates and it's broken into two, and then you have through lifetimes you're constantly, that's why we have the idea of soulmates, is that you're this is the other half, but the other part of you're constantly in past lives and things trying to find and mate with this individual. Now sometimes it can shift and change to being that of like a parent and daughter, mother-daughter dynamic, father-son dynamic, father-daughter dynamic. It could be a brother-sister dynamic. It could be a boss, an employee, and not romantic, I mean platonic. And these can trigger you, right? This can trigger this constant coming together, separation. And I know there's the term twin flame. I know that that's thrown around a lot. And there's this couple, Jeff and Shalia, that there's a lot of people go, the twin flame cult. That's mentioned a lot. I encourage you, if you have not looked up Matt Kahn, Khan, he talks about soul contracts, karmic partnerships, soulmates, and twin flames. I think he explains that really well in depth. And kindred spirits. So I will say though, that if you've ever met someone and the moment you meet them instantaneously you feel some sort of kinship with them, where this sense of familiarity, it's often said that that person is somebody who you've known before in a past life. I know that sounds very woo-woo, new agey stuff, but it's almost like this innate knowing that you can't put your finger on, but it's like, I know you, like we flow. Like, for example, I'm going to use this as an example. There was last year when I was doing, I'm going to say OF stuff. I don't do that anymore just because it's not my cup of tea. It's not my word, not what I thought it was at all. It's not just boudoir pictures and people are like, oh, this is nice. And I thought it was the Instagram of the lingerie or whatever, sexy pictures with clothes on, no nudity, but it's not that. But anyways, when I was doing that, these agencies would try to book you or try to recruit you to join them. And there was one in particular, I cannot remember what the name of it was, but the person and it's interesting because the guy I think was a lot younger than me. And we, I will never forget that conversation because I don't know why, I don't know how or why, but we got to talking on the phone. And this was a guy who, he said he like works with models or whatever, and like that's what they call these models. And then but we just talked like on the phone like regularly. Like that one day we just got on the, he's like, just to assess if it would be the right fit. I didn't end up going through with it because I was like, I'm not going to do the whole agency thing. But himself, he was, I'll never forget, like, and I think he was a lot younger than me, and he lived in, I think he said St. Augustine, Florida, but he was so easy to talk to. Like, oh my God, like, we talked about, like, his dog, I think his dog's name was Lilo or something like that, right? Like Lilo and Stitch. I just remember the dog's name being Lilo, and then, we talked about, like, Marvel, or like video games and like N64. Like, he was so easy to get along with. And I don't know, he was really cool, but I think he was a lot younger than me. So I was like, and I wasn't into for dating or whatever, just the rapport was like, it was just so easy to get along with this person, and it was just on the phone. And I'm like, damn, I'm like, why is this guy so easy to talk to? And, you know, and I was like, I feel like I know this dude, you know? And we talked about movies. It was just, it flowed. And there was this sense of ease. And again, I didn't follow through with the agency thing. I just decided, I was like, ultimately, I was like, I don't know. I don't want to do that. But himself, he was a very, like, down-to-earth, easygoing individual to speak to. And I honestly think, to me, that was like a kindred spirit thing, platonically speaking. But and I could tell there was like, and you know, and he wasn't pushy, like he wasn't at all pushy and like, oh, you need to he actually was like trying to guide me. He's like, oh, you need to download this thing called Notion and whatever, and we get you with like a thing and you post consistently. And I was like, okay, whatever, I don't know what I was like, I don't know how to do this shit, so you know. But he was pretty cool dude. And you know, just, and also too, like when I was in college, I had friends, one of her name was Gabby, and she was we were like two peas in a pod. We were so similar. And she had a really beautiful voice too. She was musical theater, because I did one semester of musical theater for college, and then I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. I was like, I want to work with kids. So I ended up working with kids instead, like in preschool and hospital. And so, but she and I had a good rapport going. I'm trying to think who else. There's just some people that, you know, when you meet them, it's like, I know your soul. Like, we've met before. It's like in Sleeping Beauty when the prince is like, we've met before. And she's like, no, I don't know you. And then she's, not to talk like that. But anyways, I hope that she doesn't talk like that. But you know in the movie when they meet and she's like, oh, no, I can't. You, whatever. And he's like, but when will I see you? And he's like, oh, never. And then she leaves. Anyways, that was a really bad reenactment of that scene. But my point is that your soul knows, you know, I think with certain people, and you'll feel it. And it is really sad when some people, I think their soul contract, you know, some people, I will say, I think they have a longer soul contract with some folks, and maybe you get together later on in life. But there's a lot of people who breach the contract because, you know, they did not fulfill their soul's mission of what they needed to do with that person. Because don't forget, when you meet people, you come into that person's life for a reason, and they come into yours for a reason. And I like to say either someone's a lesson or a blessing, or both. A reason, a season, a lifetime, and they're also a lesson, a blessing, or both. And some people drop the ball because maybe you were their blessing and they fumbled it. That's deep. And they'll never be able, you know, they fumbled it, and then guess what? But then someone else comes along and there's an interception. I was trying to do a football analogy. I feel very proud of that. But the other team comes and they intercept it. And now the other guy is going to intercept it, and he's going to take the ball, and he's going to get, I was going to say a home run, but that's baseball. The other guy, the other team's going to get a touchdown because the other team fumbled the ball. So, because there's a team, there's always the winning team and the losing team. And the winning team will be the one that says, I'm going to fucking throw that as a quarterback. I'm going to throw that ball. And then, you know, the running back, right? Who's the one that the tight end is? Not a tight end. There's a running back, there's defensive lineman, and then the guy that catches the ball. I don't know if it's the running back, maybe. But anyways, dude catches the ball, and then, you know, yeah. So, go with the guy that's going to go for the gold. Or go for the dude that's going to be willing to intercept the ball for you so we can take it to the finish line and a touchdown. If you're into sports, I don't know. I kind of got into sports the past few months because I got hired at a job where you had to know sports and stuff. So yeah. Or if you're into, I don't know what would be a tennis, an ace. Go for the guy that's gonna serve an ace. Or baseball would be the home run. You know, don't be the guy who's gonna sit on like first base and be like, I don't know what the fuck to do. You know. So anyways, it's almost like it's 5 a.m. It's like a 3-hour thing. But that's the latest and greatest in terms of dating as a targeted person. And we shall see how things go. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm on the other side of the grass. That's a good thing. But you never know how things go. If you end up hearing a story about a young woman who passed away, just know I did not do it myself. That was foul play. And I don't have any other, not that I know of, I don't have any other underlying medical issues. So, you know, they say if you have an issue, grab a tissue. This is not something you get a tissue for. So, I hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And we shall see. But I also don't want to make dating the sole focus of my life right now. I try to fill my life like I'm doing that's another thing too. Don't be so obsessed with dating or be in the form of what they call limerence, when you become infatuated with someone or something where you like neglect all your other priorities and responsibilities. That's just like gross, because then it looks like you become obsessed with that, and then you're like boy crazy, or if you're a guy, you become obsessed. No, you want to have a really fulfilling, well-rounded life. Now, as a targeted person, that's a little bit harder because you have to focus on, like, not dying. You have to focus on, like, not getting murdered. But, you know, try your best. I don't know what to say. Try your best. hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That's what I do. And if someone, God forbid, I hope no one ever tries to poison anybody or any of you people, but if that happens, just listen to your gut and, you know, follow your heart. And also, too, proof is everything. And trying to prove it, the only thing I have is that I had high amounts of aluminum. That's all I could prove. And, yeah. But I will say, being poisoned slowly over time, I would assume my kidneys would start to fail and I would have liver failure or something like that, or my brain would rot, and God knows, I don't know, you know, because all of that sits around your heart or your chest cavity, your muscle fascia and your tissue and all that stuff. So I try to push through that the best I can. And if you say, oh, then you need to leave the country and move, listen, that would follow. You know, if these people, at the end of the day, it's just human torture. If they wanted me dead, they would have killed me, like, immediately. I hate to say it. I know it sounds horrible, and I don't want to even think like that. But they would have, because there's so many ways that I'm assuming someone could take someone out, which I don't want to have this take a dark turn. But, like, that's how I know how sadistic some of these people are, is that it's not even, they're not doing it, like, immediately. They're dragging it. I guess they wish to drag it out. And that's really cruel. And I tell myself, how can I cope through this? And I said, just offer forgiveness. That's all I can do. I pray. I pray, and then I say, God, help me forgive them because they know not what they do. And grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and something in the wisdom and the courage to know the difference. You know, let go of what you can't control and focus on what you can. And, you know, doing this kind of stuff helps me focus on what I can. And the day that, you know, if my heart gives out or something, then I will figure it out. And hopefully the right people will come to rescue me, like a good EMT. Or I have to become my own EMT, my own paramedic. I don't know. But the thing is, I don't have the tools and the things like that to do that. But, like, how am I going to resuscitate myself? You know, they have an ambu bag where, like, they put the mask over your face and, like, pressing it to give you oxygen. Like, I can't, to save my own life would be kind of just, I think I need someone else to do that. So, yeah, but those are my current ventures in dating, and I hope I make it to, you know, my birthday's in September. I hope I make it till my birthday. And I would like to make it till Christmas. That would be awesome. If I make it till Christmas and I'm still going through this shit, then it really truly will be a miracle. Un milagro. But I'm one who never ever underestimates the power of God or the power of positive intention and thinking in miracles. There's literally a book called A Course in Miracles. So, but thoughts and prayers are appreciated. I'm not naive to the fact of any of this stuff could be very dangerous, and, you know, I wish someone would tell me the truth. I don't know if I'll ever get the truth. According to my parents, my dad says, you know, no one's ever gonna, you know, give you that, like, you know, so just, I don't know. He says, let it go. And I'm just like, yeah, well, I feel like there's something that people are not telling me, you know, so I don't know. I'm still hopeful. Because to me, if I knew someone was going through something really hard and I knew that there was maybe some criminal aspect to things, I would make it my mission to make sure that I relayed that message to that person. But that's me. That's my heart. But I don't think I would make for a good police officer, because I think I'd care too much. I'd be the person in the back of the car, like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's pray. We're gonna try to undo all the years of trauma that made you want to commit a crime like that anyways, and just, you know, rehabilitate. That's more my thing. I'd be like the social worker at the Bureau of Prisons trying to help reform someone versus apprehend them or arrest them. So I have little bumps on my arm. Keratosis pilaris. Little bumps. Called KP for short. But yeah, I hope that was insightful for someone. And I'm more than willing to share my insights about different things with people. And do I hold resentment and contempt for these people who do this shit? No. They will try to provoke and prod and all that stuff. And I strive to find the good. Always look for the good. And when people bother you and irk you, just remember, don't ever stoop to their level. When they go low, you go high. And those aren't my words, those are the Obama's words. That's just because that's a quote that the First Lady said, and that kind of, that's helped me a lot get through really hard things. Because I never once wanted to stoop to anyone's level, like lower myself, my standards, or be vindictive in any way. Because I just think two wrongs don't make a right, and violence doesn't solve anything. Violence causes more problems, if anything. And the people that are doing this, they know that I'm a good, I was a good girl, I'm not a woman. They know I think they know that I'm a good human being and a good person. And anyone whose heart is so cold and so evil, like Dr. Evil, from Austin Powers, anyone who's so evil like that to try to inflict injury or, God forbid, death or harm or poison upon another person, they very well know that they're infringing upon my human rights. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that. So, yeah. But again, any, prayers are always appreciated. I will always take a prayer. So, thank you, and I hope my journey gives you some insight into yourself, and also don't think that you have to live like life the way I live life. Don't ever say, oh, she's a good, no, live the way that you know how. Because a good therapist, a good counselor, a good teacher, a good mentor, eventually when the student supersedes the teacher or the mentor is when you know you did the job right. And also, no two people are alike, and my journey is not your journey. So I can impart knowledge and wisdom and coping strategies and things like that, or offer peer support through a virtual platform like YouTube, which I'm grateful for. But ultimately, it comes down to you and your psychosocial dynamic or whatever you have going on in your life. And you can't be me, I can't be you. And everyone's journey is different. Maybe enacting certain, pro-social behaviors and proper etiquette is something that you can implement into your life, and having a certain logic and rationale when it comes to dating and relationships and boundary setting. But ultimately, that's your doing. No one should try to, you can try to influence someone, but they can't be you, and I can't be you. So that's something I think that's important. My biggest thing is getting people to think back on their thoughts and their behaviors, and to maybe make more enlightened or logical decisions when it comes to dating. Also, I will say that if you have not done BetterHelp was, they have excellent, what's it called? Not seminars, but they do these online, not group, they're webinars, and they offer them in conjunction with your therapy if you pick that option, and you can get unlimited amounts of these really great, there was one doctor, his name was Sean DeMaria, or I think his name was, I'm not sure, but he was excellent in talking about dating. He was very insightful. I learned a lot listening to his lectures. If you're someone that doesn't like to listen to lectures, then I don't know what to say to you. I love listening to lectures. That's kind of like my thing. I'm a lifelong learner, a student of life, and I thoroughly enjoy getting to hear other people espouse and share their knowledge on psychology, human behavior, behavioralism, sociology, psychosocial development, things of that nature. But BetterHelp was I will say, I think for my my situation is very unique, so I need more of a victim advocate or a crime advocate, not a crime advocate, like someone who knows, who understands that kind of things, the legalities of it, because it's very unique, and it's really not something that a regular, therapist or counselor can really, people who've dealt with abuse, like really bad abuse and PTSD and stuff like that. Because BetterHelp is really good, like everyday commonplace things. Like if you are going through miscarriage or a divorce or job loss or, God forbid, I hope, knock on wood, Bonnie stays healthy for a long time, but things like that. Because I get nervous about that, because if I'm eating this stuff, then they're probably doing the same thing to her, and she's my world, and she's my everything. And, unfortunately, when you get targeted as a person, your pets also get targeted. So, yeah. But we'll see. I mean, so far, she's still very playful. Her nails need to be cut. And, she eats, which is good. She hasn't been eating her food that I got her from this kind of more like fancy schmancy gourmet market place. But I do get nervous about her food being tampered with. And people are really evil. I know that. But I remind myself that I'm not. And within that, there's great power, It's like, like Peter Parker in Spider-Man, where Uncle Ben says, with great power comes great responsibility. Bonnie has a lot of power. Bonnie is a very, very strong dog. And as am I. I would like to think of myself as someone who doesn't give up despite adversity. Even though right now my arm has a lot of little bumps on the back from being... I can take on other stuff, but the little bumps on my back and my arm are really annoying right now. Anyways, hope that helps somebody, and I hope my journey can give you some clarity on your journey. And yeah, life is it is a journey. It's a work in progress. We are all works in progress. You can think you're 34, you're 40, you're 45, and you can think that you have life figured out. You're always shifting and changing. And with each stage comes a different, a new set of challenges, a new set of goals, and, different experiences. So, give yourself grace. And dating is not a one-size-fits-all thing. There's no right way to go about it. I think ultimately, I will say, though, that your soul knows. Your soul will know. There's literally a song from a musical called Guys and Dolls. It's a really good musical. Marlon Brando and Frank Sinatra were in the movie of that. And there's a song that... I think her name's Sarah. She's like the head of the mission or something. She's like a military. I don't know the military. She's part of a rescue mission for people who need saving with their souls. And she says, like, there's a song that she sings, because she ends up the guy, the most like notorious was a gambler named Sky Masterson. If you don't know the premise of it, really quickly, he's like. They make a bet that they try to get this, they call dame or girl, they try to get her to fall in love with him. Like, they make an honest bet in a competition amongst the gambler group, who are considered, I guess, in that day and age, they were considered criminals, not lowlifes, because they dressed very in like zoot suits and like very dashing with the hats and very debonair. And they were kind of wealthy because they acquired this wealth with like crap games and stuff. And so he tries to woo her and pursue her, and because they make the bet, and then she sings, because he's very like seductive. Marlon Brando was so seductive, whatever. But she sings a song called "I'll Know," and I'm not gonna sing it, but she just says, "I'll know when my love comes along. I won't take a chance," or something. And he'll be just what I need, not some fly-by-night Broadway romance. Until then, I will wait. Until then, I'll be strong. But I'll know when my love comes along. And then the other guy says, mine will come as a surprise to me. Mine I'll leave to fate and chemistry. And she goes, chemistry? And then he goes, yeah, chemistry. And he says, I'll know when my love comes along. And then they kind of have this tete-a-tete back and forth about like, because she's very logical and rational and systematic, and he's more like, you know, spontaneous, like, I'm not gonna, you know, because he's like, you know, he's Mr. Suavemente, you know, dude. And so, but funny enough, they do end up falling for each other. She gets like, he takes her to Cuba. He takes her to Cuba for a date, which is the funniest thing ever. Because he says, oh, are there dates in Cuba? That was part of the bet to get her to go to Cuba or something. And then she gets really dirt stinking drunk, and then she ends up professing like, oh, you know, they like each other. And they're two kind of opposites attract situation. But there's a song that says, I'll know when my love comes along. So I think it's like that. I think you kind of know. So to each his own. I have yet to experience that. I thought years ago, maybe there was one dude I thought years ago, I'm not going to say the name or explain the context of the situation, but way before targeting and gang stalking, this was someone that I really liked, and I thought of him as a friend, and we had a really good rapport going, and yeah, I think he had a girlfriend at the time. Even though I felt like he was flirting with me, but I liked him as a person, and he made me laugh a lot. I mean, that was really fun. If a guy can make me laugh, it's a good sign, because it means that I'm not so much in my head and I'm more in my heart, and I'm enjoying life a little bit more. So, and laughter is medicine, basically. Laughter is the best medicine, actually. I've been watching a lot of comedians lately, and it's a good distraction for me, because I've gone through a lot of shit in the past 6 years. So to watch someone, you know, funny do a skit is like a blessing at this point. So that's it. So I hope, again, that helps somebody, and it's a work in progress. And if I ever do meet someone, I don't know, maybe I could say, hey, this is the dude. I'll say, hey, do you mind going on YouTube and talking on YouTube? And I don't know, maybe he will, maybe he won't. But I won't do that unless if I've known someone for at least 5 to 6 months or 7 months, then I'll say, hey. But until then, if I can get it to 3 months, if I'm talking to the same person for 3 months consistently, then God bless America, because that has yet to happen. So, and hopefully I'll be alive by then too, you know. I'm trying to make light of a pretty serious situation, but because in all seriousness, I am being targeted or whatever, and it's really scary, and I wish someone would tell me the truth, but no one has yet. So I've kind of just, you know, go with the flow and follow my heart, and do the best that I can, you know. But I'm still hopeful, you know, because if someone was hurting and in danger or whatever, I would do everything in my power to save them, because that's just me. So I'm hoping that someone will extend that same, you know, sentiment, you know, towards me. But that's it. And remember, when you think good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely. By Roald Dahl, Dahl, if you were wondering. Roald is spelled Roald, and it's Dahl. I don't know if this individual is still living presently. He may not be. Let me see. Oh my God, anti-Semitism. I just read anti-Semitism. He was a British author, poet, screenwriter, World War II fighter pilot. He's best known for his children's books, including James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and Matilda. Holy shit! I didn't know that he wrote Matilda. Holy crap. September 13th, he's a Virgo, in Cardiff, Wales, United Kingdom. Oxford. Oh no, he passed away. May he rest in peace. Anyways, bro, I didn't know he wrote Matilda. That's crazy. And James and the Giant Peach. I did not know that. Matilda the music. Wonka. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate. That's the book. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Oh, he wrote something called The Witch. That's scary. The Witches. Oh, and he wrote a sequel. Anyways, I don't know. I'm not gonna get. I'm gonna if I get lost on the Reddit thread, I'll go on a Reddit thread and I'll sit there and I'll just read a bunch of like, and they have the most interesting names. What else? I'm trying to think. I think that's it. That's all I'm gonna say. Anything else? I think. No. It's like 5:30 in the morning. I said a lot. It's 3 hours. Oh my God. God bless you. If I could bake you a cookie through a screen, if you got through 3 hours of me talking, then God bless your soul, because holy shit, that's a long time. So yeah. So yes, and feel free if you want to, you can always email me. I'm not a therapist. I was a child life specialist from 2015 to 2025. Hopefully that can be reinstated, but I don't know. And yes, that's it. But I was trained and to be able to assess behavior, both verbal and nonverbal behavior. I was trained in child development and theory, as well as psychology and developmental psychology through the lifespan. So I do know a little bit, un poco, about psychologia and all this other psychology or whatever, what do you want to call it? And I love that stuff. I love to learn about the way the human brain works, or why people do what they do. And I will say, gang stalking and targeting is the most effed up phenomenon I've ever experienced in my life, because the thing is, the people doing it are extremely cognizant that they're doing it. So imagine like a perpetrator knowing that they're being a perp, but they do it anyways, and then they lack the remorse for doing what they're doing, which would then make them a sociopath, because sociopaths are apathetic, because apathy is the absence of empathy. So it's like, imagine knowing, like, you meet someone on the street and you're like, I know you're a perp, but like you're being a dick about it and you're not doing anything about it, and they just continue to do it anyways. Mind-blowing. I don't understand it. So yeah, and also the names sometimes on Reddit, I don't know what, I don't know. Some of these names of these people, I'm like, it's very questionable. But it's fun to read about what these people say. But I will leave that with you. Roald Dahl, he wrote all his books. And that's it. Hopefully I live another several months. I pray to God. Because I don't know. We shall see. I hope because in all seriousness, if you've seen my other videos, I kind of shed light on everything I've gone through, and it's very scary. There are forces that are beyond my control that, will try to dictate my fate, unfortunately, and I can't. There's nothing I can say or do that would change their mind. So I just take it in stride as best as I can. So, namaste, and have a beautiful, wonderful day. God bless.